Hi, Mr. Kalsovich. How are you? I think you're muted. I don't hear you.
Can you hear me, Leslie?
Yes, I can. Excellent.
Okay. I managed to do that. So
Very good.
I'm on?
You were on video and we can hear you talking. So that's exactly where you need to be.
Okay.
We're going to ask you to turn your video off, and you can do that just in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. It'll say stop video and mute. So we're gonna, do you see those down there at the bottom, the
Yes.
left-hand corner? We're going to ask you to mute yourself and to turn your video off, so it'll just say your name on the screen until your item comes up, and then you can turn your camera on and unmute yourself, okay? Okay, you're muted, Mr. Kalsovich. I don't hear you.
I forgot.
That worked.
All right, here we go. So whenever it says stop video, that means that I'm just not being recorded.
No, it means that you're not showing on the screen. So
Okay.
all we'll see on the screen is a black square. See how Mr. Calderon's name shows down on the screen?
Yes.
That's how you're going to look. It's just going to show.
Here I am, and when I stop video, that's
Yeah.
Ralph Calderon. I know him.
Coach.
So,
how's it going?
Good.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So,
Mr. Kalsovich, your item
Yes.
will be after we talk about the superintendent's goals. Then you're up next, and so the board president will announce the item, and when that happens, you can turn your camera on, and I will show the Measure M report on my screen and share my screen so that everyone can see it. So you can just talk about the report, okay?
Okay. Try to keep it under a minute, right?
If you do that, you'll be our favorite guest.
Okay.
yes,
All right.
sir.
Oh, how about, let's see. Yeah, don't they have general discussion first and all that for, bringing issues or items to the board?
Yes, there's the general public comment period. And so I'll read the comments submitted for tonight.
Oh, yeah. And I'm right after that.
Yes.
Superintendent's goals. Okay.
Yes.
Do you anticipate that section being very long? General public comment period?
No, we have just a few comments tonight, so that won't be long tonight.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. I will keep, I'll go ahead and I'll unmute and I'll stop video.
Hey,
Very
Coach
good.
Cal.
Hey,
Thank you.
Costa, how's it going?
Just wanted to say I'm proud of you. You made it, and I never thought I'd see you on Zoom.
I know. We didn't expect a lot of things that's been happening the last year, huh?
For this to be normal, it's something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, you guys.
Okay. We're waiting for the board to come back from closed session right now. So.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Kalsovich.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, Leslie, have you opened the meeting on our board docs?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna refresh then. Thank you. Okay, there it is. Okay,
Mr. Lopez, you have this statement.
I got it here, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Leslie, and I'm gonna refer back to you. Oh, you said we're gonna add 16.3 and Alan's gonna take the lead on that one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. And then so we'll reconvene then into open, do the flags, do the reporting out, do the flag salute, and then do the oath of office to Julio, right? Okay,
Correct.
perfect. All righty. Okay, Tiffany. So we're still missing then, I guess, Aaron and Julio, correct? Just want to double check.
Yes,
Okay.
looks like
all
it,
right.
yeah.
There's Aaron.
There
Okay.
she is.
Mhm. And Julio. Did any of you text Leslie when Julio entered close? You got it. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I was needed elsewhere.
We're good. Thank you, ma'am. Oh, Alan's not here either.
He's getting on. That's why I was needed.
We should make that a goal. Anyway,
It's in the calendar.
No, it's on the email from 10 o'clock-ish this morning.
oh man, I
Excuse
can't
me.
believe. Oh my goodness.
9:50.
We're not.
It can be confusing with the invites and the,
Yes, it can.
yeah.
We're not live yet, right?
Live?
I don't think we're live yet. Sam, are we live yet?
Sure.
Are we really?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness.
We're showing off the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh my goodness.
There we go.
Okay,
Looks like we're still waiting for Julio.
that's correct. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, hold on. He sent me a message.
Okay.
Can you please email the link? Okay, hold on just a second.
Thank you, ma'am.
This is where we prove the utmost respect that we have for our teachers and everyone who's had to figure out distance learning and broadcasting. And when I listen to Marcia Carrillo's induction
Yeah.
and all of the various different technology components that I've never heard of before.
Mhm.
They're learning and incorporating as a means to try and engage students. Very remarkable. We can all be very forgiving. This is all a lot.
Yep. All right. It looks like all four of us are here. So we will reconvene into open session, Mrs. Robeck, at officially at 5:46. In closed session, the board did take action, and I have reporting out statement. In closed session, the board approved settlement reached with Bunton, Clifford and Associates Incorporated in the litigation titled Merced High School District versus Bernard Brothers Incorporated. Mr. Alan Peterson, in his capacity as superintendent, was authorized to sign and execute the settlement agreement on behalf of the board and district, passed with a motion by Tiffany Pickle and a second by Aaron Ham. Court approval required for final settlement. Disclosure would jeopardize existing settlement negotiations. The roll call vote was as follows. Leslie, Trustee Lopez was a yes, Trustee Ham was a yes, and Trustee Pickle was a yes. Trustee Valadez and Trustee Swigert were not present for the vote.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. We will now continue, proceed with the meeting. If you guys can please join me in the flag salute. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. At this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Peterson, who is going to give the oath of office to re-elect the re-elected trustee member, Julio Valadez. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, President Lopez, and congratulations, Trustee Valadez, on your second term. If you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. Mr. Valadez?
Yeah, hold on, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Repeat after me, please. I, Julio Valadez, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
I, Julio Valdez, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California.
And I take this obligation freely,
And I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Julio. Welcome back.
Congratulations, Julio.
Okay. We'll move on now to the election of officers. 8.01, the governing board shall elect a president from its members and appoint Superintendent Alan Peterson as the secretary to the board.
I nominate Tiffany Pickle to be president of the board.
Is there anybody else who's, well, there's only 4 of us here, but is there anybody else who's interested too before we move on? I'm just curious.
Sure, I'm interested.
All right.
So then we can,
So-
I guess, start if anybody wanted to nominate Julio.
Well, we got a nomination on the floor already, which was, Aaron's nomination of
Mhm.
yourself, unless you're going to decline that nomination, Tiffany.
I won't decline. I just want to make sure that if anybody's interested, that
Okay.
we have the opportunity to make a motion.
Okay. So with that nomination, Tiffany, from Mrs. Ham, I will go ahead and second her nomination there to appoint you as president of the board. Okay, so with that being said, I guess we'll take a vote on that, Mrs. Roback. Okay. All in favor of selecting Mrs. Pickle as the president of the MUHSD board?
Are we not going to use board docs?
We can use board docs, or we can do it vocal.
However you want.
Okay, it's up to you guys. All in favor of Mrs. Pickle being president, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Is anybody opposed? Okay. And the motion carries 3-0. And then you're gonna abstain, Julio?
No, I was waiting to get the link.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So we are voting via board docs now?
Yes, I marked your vote because you voiced it, Mrs. Ham. So I marked you as a yes vote.
Okay. So Richard, is this your last meeting as president?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Well,
The
thank you
motion,
very much.
of course, thank you guys. Motion carries 4-0. Okay, we'll move on now to the governing board. Oh, at this, should I turn it over to Tiffany then, Leslie?
However you
Yes.
guys want to do it.
Tiffany, take it over. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Richard, and thank you for serving the last 2 years. Then we'll move on to the election of vice president. So who might be interested?
Well, I'll nominate Mrs. Ham.
You interested, Aaron?
Sure. The female power.
There you go.
I'll go ahead and second the nomination.
Okay.
So we just want to do a roll call vote then?
We'll do it over the board docs, Leslie.
I have it ready if you want
Okay.
to use the board docs.
Okay, let's use the board docs then.
Thank you.
Mrs. Pickle, I'm going to send you a link to the scoreboard, and that will show you what the vote is. In the meantime, the vote did pass with 4 yeses.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Aaron. Next, we'll elect clerk.
Julio, are you interested in being clerk?
No, I actually wasn't interested in being anything. I was just seeing what happened. But no, I'm not interested. Thank you. You guys handle it. Female power.
No, it's good to balance us all out.
Well, Richard, how about you?
I'm good with it, but if John, if John wants to take it, I'd gladly give it over to John. That's fine.
Can we elect John if John's not here?
Is John on?
He's not on, but
You can, but I think it would be more appropriate to go with Richard.
I'm good with it, Tiffany. I'll do it. That's fine.
Well, I nominate John.
Okay.
Then there needs to be a second, knowing that
Okay.
he's being put into a position that he's
Okay.
not here to accept. So,
Well, I
I'm
was
not-
hoping if.
yeah, I'm
Go
not
ahead.
going to second.
Okay.
Is anybody else willing to second that?
No, I'm not.
Then we'll need another nomination.
I nominate Richard to be clerk.
Then I'll second. And we'll call for the vote. Okay, and I'm bringing up the scoreboard, Leslie.
Okay, so I just hit save. You should see it in just a second.
Okay, got it. Motion passes 4-0. All right. Next we have the, congratulations, Richard.
Thanks.
Approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda before we make a motion to approve?
Yes, President Pickle, first of all, congratulations on your appointment. I do need to bring something to the board's attention, and I'm asking that this be added to the agenda. It was brought to our attention after the agenda was posted that it is necessary for the board to appoint Trustee Swigert to his seat for Trustee Area 4, as he was the only candidate that filled that seat and did not appear on the ballot. So it's a kind of a new process, at least to us, that because he didn't have an opponent, we need to do this.
So that will need to be added as an action item?
Yeah, was that 1603?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
1603.
Then can we have a motion to approve the agenda with the amended change that Mr.
I'll make a
Cooper
motion.
Second the motion.
Do we need to, Leslie, do we just approve it as amended, or do we need to make a motion to add it and then approve the change?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with action item 16.03 added to it.
With
Okay, I think that's safe.
Perfect. And then do we have a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Aaron. We'll call for the vote. And the motion passes 4-0. All right.
Mrs. Pickle,
Yes.
while you're doing the showcase, I am going to go into board docs and add the agenda item as item 1603. When we come out, we may have to refresh if you guys don't see it, but I wanted to add it to board docs.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next we have Merced High School Ag Department Showcase, and I believe Mr. Coleman, you're up.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Board President Pickle, board members, Mr. Peterson, Cabinet, and Mrs. Rohrback. I'm going to introduce, first of all, my department chair for our ag, Ms. Stephanie Coor. She's going to talk real quick, give you an overview, a little bit about the video, and then I will share the video with all of you. So take it away, Stephanie.
All right, thank you, Mr. Coleman. So I'm excited to share this video with you all tonight. It is student directed, scripted, and edited. I only got to see the final version for a sign of approval. So I am excited and passionate to be able to showcase our students and share their passion with the things that we have accomplished this year with everyone.
Okay, I will be sharing my screen momentarily. All right. Mrs. Pickle, can we see that? Is it up?
Yes.
Okay, away we go.
a little more volume.
And historian, Crystal Escobar. This year, our theme is Be the Future because it's our goal to inspire members to believe in themselves, take control, and be a profound leader in their community. Thank you for taking this time to watch the Merced FFA Chapter Showcase, and I hope you enjoy. My name is Sarah Sanchez, and I have the honor to serve as the Merced FFA Chapter President. This year, I have taken an initiative to find new ways to connect with members. I've started a podcast called Be the Future, where I interview FFA members, officers of all levels, and those who have chosen an agriculture career. With this podcast, I will advocate for FFA opportunities, agriculture pursuits, and inspire others to rise up. There are currently 8 episodes available on the Merced FFA YouTube channel. Every Friday, episodes are uploaded, and all updates can be found on the Be the Future podcast Instagram account.
Hello, my name is Dylan Hare, and I'm currently serving as Merced FFA's Vice President and the Central Region's Treasurer. This year, Merced FFA members have seen a lot of success. As a chapter, we were ranked as a 2-star national chapter. We also had 2 of our members receive their American degree, which is the highest degree awarded in the FFA organization. Within the last decade, we have only had 1 member receive this degree, so to have 2, this is a great accomplishment.
Every Friday prior to returning to in-person instruction, we would host a friendly game of Kahoot. This allowed the opportunity for our members to interact with the new teachers as well as their peers. The topics varied from different aspects in agriculture to different genres of music. The students held an excellent winning streak against the teachers, and we are looking forward to bringing this back as soon as we return from winter break.
Merced FFA has added a working rabbit tree to campus this fall. Rabbits are another accessible SAE project which students can partake in. We currently have a trio of Californians, but will soon be adding more does to the breeding stock. The rabbits will be maintained by students, but will also be utilized in classes such as Explorations in Ag, who will be conducting a feeding trial with them in January.
In addition, one of our students, Alyssa Laredo, with her business, Wild Game Jerky, was awarded the California Star Agribusiness, which won her a $10,000 scholarship. In more exciting news, Alyssa won the National Proficiency in the area of agricultural sales and entrepreneurship. This title came with a $1,000 cash prize, totaling in $11,000 in winnings.
Merced FFA has been coming up with creative ways to engage their students during these unprecedented times. With the cancellation of all the leadership conferences, our Ag Leadership class decided to host a virtual Greenhand Leadership Conference for all of our first-year members.
Drop it off at the door.
During this, they have the chance to learn all the opportunities that will be available to them as an active member in FFA.
During these times, we have gotten creative with the addition of drive-thrus to our FFA meetings. In October, we held a canned food drive where students donated canned foods in exchange for a bag of candy. In November, we recognized our Greenhand and chapter degree recipients, as well as our scholarship pin recipients, with a certificate and a photo on our student-made backdrop. On Wednesday, December 9th, we passed out hot chocolate, candy canes, and a free Merced FFA t-shirt to anyone who came by.
I hope you enjoyed the showcase of our chapter. We are greatly appreciative of your time and support. Make sure to stay tuned to see what next semester holds for the Merced FFA chapter.
And I want to reiterate, first of all, that was entirely student-driven, student-designed, student-led. Again, Stephanie only saw it at the end, to make sure it was appropriate and covered everything we needed. So kudos to the leadership of Stephanie and her Ag Leadership class. If anyone has any questions real quick about our FFA program, Stephanie's here to answer any of those questions.
No, great job.
I just want to say thank you. That was a great video. Your kids doing a great work, and thank you for your support and leading them through this. Tough times, but you guys are doing great things, and it shows.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Have a great evening.
All right, good night.
I think, Mr. Coleman, I think you're up for the next item as well. Principal's report.
Principal's report. Yes, I am. A lot to talk about tonight. As my students talked about it really quickly about the unprecedented times, and we have said that so many times, and so many things have happened. Let me start with, beginning the start of school and the transition, right? We began the process in August of figuring out what we were going to do instruction-wise. We did several steps were involved late July, early August to make sure that we had connections with students, what the plan was going to be, how we were going to deliver instruction. At that time in August and September, we were truly a distance learning school district in school. And then we started to look at the transition of in-person, right, October, and we started to work on that possibility, and we made that possibility a reality month of November and part of December right now until up to today, as a matter of fact. At the beginning, we had approximately 60% of our students that were on campus in-person learning for both groups, A and B. Of course, it has shrank considerably due to a number of different reasons. But again, the strong showing, and I know most of our students do want to come back and they do want to come full time. Again, some of the numbers, the COVID numbers and whatever families decided it was safer for children to stay at home. So that was the decision that they made. That's pretty much why we lost a lot of our in-person students. So we're reaching out to families. This has been huge. I'm not sure how well everybody's kept up with this, but throughout the country, the biggest challenge faced by every school district has been reaching families and making connections and getting them either online or back in class. Really, I've got to say kudos again and shout outs to our district leadership and you as the board for helping support us to get the in-person learning going again and making that connection available. A lot of the things that we had to do with our special populations to get them back on campus to work and learn and be on campus was important. Again, working with our school site council, even though we have to go through some of those committees like through Zoom, like we're doing right now, just beginning to get that connection. And one thing that I want to say about my school site council is it's student-led as well. My president, my vice president, and my second vice president are all students. And again, getting those students to be able to connect and transition and reaching out to families and students has been outstanding. We continue to work on that on a daily basis. We never give up. We're always going to reach out. And in fact, I'll talk again a little further down the list that I have here about reaching families, especially that's when we went back into distance learning. I've been having some teachers and counselors reach out to our seniors to make sure that we haven't lost any of our seniors because this is a challenging year. One of my favorite things that I've done is my Facebook Live with my parents because it's an opportunity for them to ask direct questions and listen to Mr. Coleman talk and give them ideas or directions or thoughts or where we're going as a district. Again, I think that has been huge that we continue to reach out. We did first 2 weeks, we did a Zoom live for parents as well, and they could just drop in and ask us questions as an admin team. And again, just that connection and availability. It's as a principal, it's been difficult because we're so used to face-to-face and to have to create new ideas and ways of communicating and reaching out to parents. Not to say that I don't talk to parents face-to-face, but it's just that was the prime mode of conversation, and it's been a little bit of a challenge. But again, we're getting through those. Let me talk real quick about our vision for readiness. What you'll hear a lot now is we are the home of scholars and champions, and we've kind of added to that. We're the home now of strong scholars and champions, effective communicators and collaborators, creative and critical thinkers. Here's a big one: responsible users of technology and resilient learners as well. I mean, you think about resilient. Oh my gosh, we have taught resiliency probably better than most schools in the country, and not just Merced, but our district, on being resilient, about being able to learn a new idea or new strategy or even a learning modality through what we've gone through with technology. Do a really quick shout out because again, our strong is to be successful, trustworthy, respectful, optimistic, never give up, and goal oriented. Again, I can't think of a better group of maxims for the year than our strong maxims, especially those last few about being optimistic and never giving up and being goal oriented. That's been huge. My associate principal of teaching and learning, Mrs. McCauley, along with her team of my instructional coach, Ms. Silvera, and librarian teacher, Ms. Pedroza, have worked tirelessly to get that vision out to our students, out to our staff, so that they can continue to work in those directions that we need. I'm not sure if very many people know, but Merced High School has been around for 125 years. And we actually had a committee. We were really making the plans, you know, to do the whole homecoming football game. We have a logo out there that Viviana Fuentes had actually designed for us, and we had talked about getting patches and decals made, and then of course, unfortunately, COVID hit, and everything's kind of come to a grinding halt. But there's a march out there that my band director John Smid had sent out and had it written for our school, and it's a fabulous march. We can't wait for our kids to learn that march and get out there. But again, it's 125 years. We were established in 1895. The argument has been, was it January of 1895 or August of 1895? We're not quite sure because I can't find a yearbook from 1895 right now. But we'll work on that. We're going to continue to have that plan, though, of celebrating our 125 years, even if we might be a little bit late. And if you want, I will send that link for the march to Mrs. Rohrback, and she can send that out to the board and cabinet as well. In-person learning, again, high anticipation, a lot of nervousness. We were going from Zoom to a broadcast method along with live students. Caused a little bit of nervousness and a little bit of angst, but we got through that. I will tell you, teachers are very resilient. I'm going to use that word again at one of my vision for readiness, because we say, hey, we're going to broadcast in a week and we're going to learn it. And, you know, they did. They took it on. Once they figured out how this camera worked and how they'd already been used to Zoom, jumped into in-person learning with the broadcast, and they just took it on again as if nothing, didn't even skip a beat. And so again, they continue to learn every day. My teaching, my staff, they're just really great at that. Hey, activities in athletics. Okay, we know we haven't really done a lot in the world of athletics, but the key thing that I want to talk about is our coaches and our coaching staff have continued to reach out to those students to give them something to come to school for. Even if it's just a practice, which it's been for the most part, in conditioning, just to reach out and connect with students has been amazing. We've had great turnout for that. We had to put the brakes to that for now, but we are going to fire back up January 4th and get that taken care of. In the world of activities, I talked to my activities director. We started getting some fun activities going out there. Of course, we do the traditional dress up days, but we also did this week, we did a Kahoot challenge for the teachers. We've done a name that song for the students. So we've had a lot of fun up until yesterday when we had to hold off on that, but she, I think, is still going to do some stuff through Zoom so the kids can participate as well. Technology. I couldn't imagine the technology we're using right now in March of 2020. No idea, right? I'd never seen a broadcast camera before. I thought it was that, or learning of Zoom. So the technology that we are bringing on campus that we as a district have been able to provide to our sites has been outstanding. It's just working today with 2 shop teachers to get Wi-Fi connections into their classrooms so the students can use their port a little bit better than, I don't know if you're used to or have ever seen a classroom in an ag or a shop class, but it's always a little tiny shop and then the big shop area. Well, we didn't have Wi-Fi in the big shop area. We will now, and students will be able to get out there and do that as well. You saw our podcast. Well, we have another one, Bare to the Bone, that Mr. Smoot and one of my new English teachers, Miss Hunter Gibson, I'm sorry, they're going to be doing a broadcast a week, very similar to what Ag is doing. Bare to the Bone is all things Merced. We're going to reach out to the community. I'll be posting that on our social media as well as another link that we can get out to our parents as well on Parent Square. We do have our WASC review this year. I'm going to actually be meeting with my WASC visiting chair tomorrow with Mrs. McCauley. She's my coordinator. We'll go through it. We're having a 2-day mid-cycle review. It's different. I mean, again, used to WASC review has always been in person, right? We're going to do it virtually. So we'll go through that lesson. I really, why I want to talk to the visiting chairs, what's to be expected. Collaboration period. I can't tell you, I've said this several times to my staff. It's been the best learning community the first month and a half, because there were challenges that we were thrown every day. And that group of about 30 teachers would get in, they'd start talking about the problem, the challenge, like attendance, for example. We had so many different numbers. What did this number mean? What did that number mean? And how do you take roll? Because again, I know Richard and Tiffany, you all started out in the classroom as well as I did, right? And you used to take roll one at a time, right? You would call the name and you would bubble it in. Well, we don't do that, right? It's Zoom, and we have to, how do we catch all 35 kids? So great professional learning environment developed through our collaboration period. That was awesome. Saturday Academy, this has been probably one of the biggest successes we've had recently. We've had 75 students for 2 Saturdays. Last Saturday, we were down a little bit, down to about 40. But Saturday Academy has given those students, like our welding, my welding 2 students, opportunities to come in and work with Mr. Holgren in the shop to get some of those welding projects done. Some of my math students that were having difficulty with their math online actually could, either Zoom in or come on campus and meet with our math instructors. So it's been, again, I can't say enough about the Assets program, reaching out and helping our students and making that bond. Again, we feed them breakfast and lunch, when they're here on Saturday. So it's been an outstanding program. Everyone is looking forward to coming back to school. Everyone. Drama students can't wait to perform. Welding students are looking forward to finishing their projects. My med tech students want to get out to the community. ProStart Cafe is looking forward to making lunches, that teachers purchase. Athletes want to participate and compete. My Merced Marching 100 wants to get back in a parade. And obviously you've seen our Ag FFA students. They want to compete as well in their field days and in fairs. We are all ready to go. We are set. Any questions?
Thank you. You covered it.
All right.
Just to clarify, Kurt, clarify real quick. Tiffany did the paper pencil attendance. I use Sassy, okay? So
I remember Sassy.
Well, then I must be really, really old.
I don't want to admit that, but I remember Sassy.
I had started my career with, it was a sheet of paper and you wrote a kid's name down if they were gone. And all right. Well,
no, Kurt, seriously, you guys are doing a fantastic job over there. Still trying to make things work for you and your staff. I just want to give kudos to you and your staff. The day that I walked in to visit, just your protocols in place were right on, man. And from the entry point to exit and just everything else in between, it's great to see the processes that you guys have in place. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Coleman, for everything, for your leadership, support of your teachers, your families, your students, acknowledging those successes when we have them, and in dealing with the challenges as they come up. So thank you to you and your staff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Well, with that, have a great evening, and I will see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, next we have public comments. Is that Mrs. Rohrbach? Would that be you and Sam?
Just me tonight.
You? Okay.
We have 6 public comments, but they are all exactly the same. So Vince Yerger, Bill Ryan, Matthew Migliazzo, Horacio Jimenez, Mike Mendoza, and Harpreet Dhaliwal all made the following comment. Hello, MUHSD Board. I am writing to you as a member of the Diesel Construction Trades Advisory Board. We understand the importance of recruiting, training, and retaining qualified personnel. It is essential for us to maintain a direct relationship with the CTE instructors to ensure we are having quality, real-world training and guidance given to our future tradesmen. We have done our best to maintain this relationship with these educators. However, just in a short period of time, we have seen a high turnover rate and multiple CTE instructors leaving these current positions. Our question is why? It is important for us to see that the district retains these employees for the future of these programs in order for them to be successful. We have seen from industry that the lack of retention of qualified educators, instructors will be a direct reflection of the quality tradesmen we see in the future. We feel it is in the district's best interest to evaluate why these educators have left and what needs to be done to maintain the educators you have now to better build and produce quality employees for us in the future. Based on our experience, the majority of employees that leave to seek better compensation and benefits. We feel it is prudent that you reach out to your educators to see what must be done to retain them for the length of these programs. Those are the only comments that were submitted today.
Mrs. Roebuck, it looks like Mr. Mendoza's comment was slightly different. Should we read his?
Sure. Hello, MUHSD Board. I am writing to you as a member of the Electrical Union, IBEW Local 684, and volunteer of the Diesel Construction Trades Advisory Board. We understand the importance of recruiting, training, and retaining qualified personnel. It is essential for us to maintain a direct relationship with these CTE instructors to ensure we are having quality, real-world training and guidance given to our future tradesmen. I have done my best in forming relationships beyond an email with many school instructors, counselors, and administrators throughout the surrounding communities and school districts, including MUHSD. However, just in a short period of time, we have seen a high turnover rate of multiple CTE instructors leaving these current positions. Our question is why? It is important for us to see that the district retains these employees for the future of these programs in order for them to be successful. We have seen from industry that the lack of retention of quality educators and instructors will be a direct reflection of the quality tradesmen we see in the future. We feel it is in the district's best interest to evaluate why these educators have left and what needs to be done to maintain the educators you now have to better build and produce quality employees for us in the future. Based on our experience, the majority of employees that leave to seek better compensation and benefits. We feel it is prudent that you reach out to your educators to see what must be done to retain them for the length of these programs.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the public for your comments. Next, we have a status of the 2020-21 superintendent's goals. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, President Pickle. We are going to update you on the status of the goals set last January. I will say in general, as you all know, that it has been difficult. Goals that we have 100% of full control of here at the district office are certainly farther along than others. We have been very careful not to pull staff out of their scheduled teaching time. So we've had less of an opportunity to collaborate across the board. But we have made, I believe, solid progress on each of them. And we will go through them one by one. Mr. Calderon, I believe you are up first.
I am. Good evening, board members. Goal number one deals with the safety, preparation, and planning from a physical point of view and social emotional point of view. The the status of our December progress has been that we've completed district-wide training for staff and students on the dress code in October, realizing that that's going to be an ongoing process, especially when all kids come back. We've also completed all state mandated trainings, mandated reporter, sexual harassment, pesticide training, suicide prevention, all things mandated by the state. They have asked us to complete a new SB 390 training for our campus liaisons, and campus liaisons must complete that training by July 1st, 2021 in order to fulfill their job obligations. And last, but certainly not least, is the creation of the COVID team. I could spend the rest of the night talking about how complex and how involved this has been. We're looked to in the county, in the region, for our expertise in contact tracing, for our expertise in keeping track of this COVID situation. And before I go, I want to make sure that that some people are acknowledged. There's been great leadership from our directors, Christy Johnson and Mandy Ballinger, team members Rosa Wood, Mary Schmid. Our nurses have spent countless hours above and beyond what they're contracted to do in order to do contact tracing in a as quickly as possible. Brooke Thompson has stepped up in an incredible way to fulfill several roles in that office and on this team. Derek Daly has just been a tremendous help in establishing our COVID prevention plan and also doing contact tracing. And last but certainly not least, and I kind of put her up on a pedestal because Kim Gurdon has done the job of three people. It was important for us to have consistency, and Kim stepped up and kind of volunteered that she should be the one kind of directing the initial triage. And we didn't know what we were getting into in April and May when we formed this COVID team. But Kim Gurdon has spent an inordinate amount of hours trying to deal with this issue in a consistent, fair manner. So thank you to all of these people that have made our schools as safe and as for staff and students. And that's goal number one.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say thank you to you, Ralph, Mandy and Christy and Derek, all the leaders of the COVID team. No one knew what they were getting into, as Ralph said, and this has evolved. It's gotten better. It's gotten stronger. We've been able to keep our students and staff safe while being one of the few high schools in the state of California, high school districts in the state of California to offer a hybrid schedule during this time. And while we're taking a pause for a few weeks to get through this darkest time, we will be back at it. And you guys have helped make all that possible. All right, moving on. Mr. Aguilar.
Mr. Johnson will take essential standards.
Thank you.
No worries. Good evening, board members. Identifying essential standards helps to facilitate clarity. Clarity can double the rate of student learning. So we embarked upon looking at the standards that were most important. And what we came up with was a carefully selected subset of total list of grade specific and course specific standards within each content area that students must know and be able to do by the end of the year. Essential standards do not represent all that is taught during the course of the year. It represents the minimum a student must learn. Essential standards were chosen by teachers with the following in mind. Is the standard, does it endure? Knowledge and skills of value beyond a single test date. Is there leverage with the standard? Knowledge and skills of value in multiple disciplines. What does the standard represent for the next level of learning of knowledge? Essential standards further refined by considering high value standards as it pertains to the CASP test. Simply put, the Common Core standards are designed to cover most of the skills. And the teachers were able to come up with a list of essential standards that they thought were important. And then what we did is we kind of refined them and highlighted them in red as they appear on the CASP test. And looking at the Achieve analysis of the Common Core standards, it's wrought with skills that kids need to be employed, to go on to post-secondary systems, to be productive in society, including the ability of students to communicate effectively in a variety of ways. Next steps include how do we assess some of these standards that the Common Core, or some of these skills, sorry, not standards. How do we assess the skills embedded in the standards when the skills are something like communication skills, problem solving, reasoning, use of data, research skills, time management, job seeking, adaptability skills. You know, what we need to move forward to is how do we best help sites assess the mastery level of those skills embedded in the standards. And the next movement is obviously authentic assessment, which is best taught through project-based learning, universal design for learning, student-centered learning framed with culturally responsive teaching. These skills must be assessed through authentic assessment and probably measured through rubrics. Any questions about essential standards?
Let's make this as interactive as possible. Board members, any questions that you might have had on one or goal number 2 at this point?
What was the teacher's time investment in developing the list of essential standards?
I don't know about time investment. They were given, you know, here's your standards and here's what we're looking for. You know, do they endure? What's the leverage? What's the readiness for the next level? So they could look at the standards through those lenses. And they had time to do that. I think this was pre-apocalypse. And they had, so we had a little face-to-face, but then, you know, they went back to their sites and we gave them the freedom to look at all their standards and determine those things. But further refining them to the standards that are assessed on the CASP is a very important endeavor, because that's what we're measured by, you know, currently. So they were allowed time to do that.
So the next area of focus, it looks like, is going to be those metrics for determining the mastery.
Yes, ma'am. We wholeheartedly believe in authentic assessment. Kids need to be able to do something with their knowledge. That's the whole idea behind Common Core. It's not just, you know, what happened in 1492. Right. It's, you know, you have to apply the skill embedded in the standard, and coming up with performance tasks to help teachers assess where their kids are on that continuum is our next step.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome. And congratulations, Mrs. Pickle.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, one of the things I think the district has done very well for so many years is not teach to a test. And so I want to make sure that, you know, using the CASP as the assessment, we're not going backward.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, I totally agree with you on that. You know, at this point, and Mr. Peterson has made very clear that we're not teaching to a test. We're not teaching to a multiple choice. We're not picking a bubble. If there's a skill embedded in that standard, can the kid demonstrate that he can do that skill? That's going to help him at the next level, post-secondary or in the job world. So that's what we're pushing for.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Johnson, as we are doing this hybrid/distance learning model as we speak, do you see this work continuing? Are we going to kind of put a pause on it whether you're having 4 or 5 kids in a class and, 30 at home, however those numbers may be. I mean, like where do you see this work right now?
Well, this work right now, it's on a pause in terms of how we are embedding it in what kids do every day. But we can still do the research in the background and get ready for in-person and kids demonstrating their knowledge. So the work is going to continue in terms of research and writing the plan and making sure we understand how we're going to move forward. But some of this, because of where we're at with distance learning, may take a short pause.
And I appreciate that response. Obviously, the focus is now on trying to, get teachers to increase their level of using whatever devices they have in front of them, and then try to re-engage students into this new environment. So I appreciate the response. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. If there's no further questions, I have the next one on the instructional framework. I am extremely proud of the document that was created out of Ed Services, and that was edited and run through the ringer by sites. The instructional framework, the purpose of it is to communicate the district's instructional direction and provide a guide to inform sites' development of deeper learning opportunities and relevant experiences to help students prepare for their futures. Additionally, this document provides common language, which if you don't have a common language with which to talk about instruction, then you're going in the wrong direction. So that's another reason I'm very proud of this document. Common language related to student-centered learning, and identifies the necessary structures related to creating a comprehensive site-specific plan. Each site created their own plan based on the district's framework. And I really appreciate this document because it embeds our core values of believing all students can learn, teaching soft skills, creating learning experiences, and planning for all students. So that document was created and disseminated to the sites, and based on that, each site created their own site-specific instructional framework.
So one of the questions that came up in my evaluation, Mr. Johnson, was the kind of threading the needle between site autonomy versus, best practices and the district providing the framework, so to speak, and letting them fill it in. Talk a little bit about that, the difficulty of that, the how our sites do share common best practices, just to kind of add to my response to the board.
Yeah, I think we rolled it out really well. We wrote the document and then we put it in front of principals, and we had them read it, and then we had them give us feedback. Instructional coaches, feedback. Admin teams, feedback. How do you feel about this? Now, this is the direction we're going. We're going PBL. We're going student-centered. We're going UDL, and we're framing it with culturally responsive teaching. How do you see what you're doing at the site? How does it fit into, this framework? And I believe the idea of getting the feedback from the sites and instructional coaches and teacher librarians and that whole group allowed people to kind of make their own way within the framework. And that document is not just Ed Services. That document has the site's fingerprint all over it.
Thank you. Are you done with that one, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the board? Okay, we will move on to communications. Mr. Inigas.
Yes, hello everyone. So as Mr. Peterson said earlier, the pandemic pretty much threw a wrench into the communication plan in a big way from the beginning. However, the guiding principles remained, including providing accurate, understandable, timely communication. That was key, timely, especially at the beginning of this whole ordeal, and keeping two-way communication open, and also soliciting for honest feedback. We did a lot of work with that over the last year. The first goal, promoting the district, even while the pandemic was happening and the school closures, it was a little bit tougher to dig for things, but the communications department, we utilized the tools we had, especially social media because it's so prevalent, but also Parent Square. I took the reins of that and was providing information that way, and not just documenting events, but also telling stories. For example, when distance learning was just started and how sites were adapting to it and how the district was adapting to it, how teachers and students were adapting to that. And then, also how sites were keeping students involved outside of academics, what the activities directors, how they were doing that, telling those stories. And then as we returned students to school, there were more stories like the elections and how classes were incorporating that and following that in classes with students. And then I recently did another story about how that the popular app Among Us is being incorporated into the classroom, which is I hope if you haven't seen it, I recommend you look at it because it turned out really good. Just see the different ways that teachers are using that app to relate to their students, and not just some are incorporating it into the curriculum, some are using it as an incentive, like if you do your work, you guys can play. So that was a really fun story to do. The website played a big role as well. We created a COVID-19 resource page at the very beginning where all of our information, all of Mr. Peterson's memos, any outside sources like the CDC, any guidelines, when we came up with our own guidelines, everything was there. And then we did the same thing as the Return to Learn came around. We created a Return to Learn resource page. So anything you needed to know about, coming back in person or staying on distance learning, you could find it on that resource page. The radio, there's still a weekly radio segment that I do, and Mr. Peterson has jumped on a couple times, just informing the community about what's going on. We know there's people out there that still listen to the radio and not just streaming, especially the older generation. The newsletter is still going out. The MUHSD Minute, the weekly wrap up, that's still going on. And press releases, media releases, any opportunity to get coverage of the things that we're doing here in spite of the pandemic. And so we've gotten lots of coverage, especially that I don't know if you saw the return, when we returned students, we had a huge media because we are at the forefront of this. And so we were bringing students back before a lot of those districts in Fresno were. So they were all here. They were all, did the story, and we were on the news that evening and the following morning. So it was really neat to see that. The board briefs are still going on, which is a recap of each board meeting. So people who can't attend, we do a summary and post that on the website. And then we started up a podcast, Impact, and it was actually used in the beginning to disseminate that information, the latest information, COVID related, and then the school closures. I went ahead and since I didn't have enough to do, I started another weekly live talk show called MUHSD Live. I don't know if you had a chance to see that, but I was still kind of just feeling it out, but I think we've got it to a point. We did our 4th show yesterday. And so when there's an event coming up or a program that really should, needs more exposure, or just, anything really, it's a live Facebook Live, YouTube Live show every week. And I would, so watch for an invitation to be on that, just to talk about what's going on in the district. Now, as far as the other goal on the communications plan, as far as fostering positive relationships, things we've done on social media with sharing of content of sites, promoting their events on our social media, but also sharing content from other community organizations. What COVID related resources are out there. We've done a lot of that. These COVID testing sites, or free COVID testing in Atwater that's going on right now. We've been sharing that. These food box giveaways, when those are happening, we're sharing a lot of that. So it's just, you get that sharing thing going, and people really, they appreciate that. The communications department, we attend and document events at sites. So all the principals and the staff members there, they see me pop up, and I'm documenting, and then I'm sharing, and it's really great to see how appreciative they are when they see me there covering their events, just sharing in the positivity. We do something called Proud to be MUHSD, which is where we spotlight an employee from a site, and we get a quote from them about why they love their job, and then we just use, put a little hashtag Proud to be MUHSD, and then when we post that, it's great to see the responses from people that know that person, and they're like, oh, look at you, you're famous, and it's just really great to see the responses on social media to that. I also attend community events, group meetings, such as the Black Parallel School Board meetings. There's a MCOE has an LGBTQ task force. I attend those meetings. And then there's a Merced County Coalition, the Anti-Tobacco. They have a ACCT. I'm not sure what the hell that stands for, but it's the Anti-Tobacco Coalition. And I also attend those meetings as well. And then the newsletters we share with the local business hubs, as well as the civic leaders in the area. So it's kind of hard to not know what's going on at MUHSD. You got to really try not to look for what's going on in the district to not know. But again, with the pandemic communications, we were providing information. It was almost daily at the beginning there. And it was utilizing all the social medias and the Parent Square and all the tools that we had. Again, with the podcast, sharing COVID prevention tips and content from the reputable health organizations, the CDC and the State Department of Health, the County Department of Health, sharing all that information with our followers. We've increased the amount of live online events, and that's important because in distance learning, there's a lot of emails that people get bombarded with, notifications. But if they see like a notification that, hey, the district is live, I'm going to check that out. That right there, it works, and then people tune in, and so that's just something that I really was focusing on, and I love seeing other districts utilizing that live capability. So yeah, with the training, I went to sites and helped them train up to do the Facebook Lives. And like Mr. Coleman said earlier, he utilizes that. So that's great to hear. And let's see, just, even with the pandemic and the school closures, we continued to grow our audience on social media. I got some numbers I wrote down, I'm gonna read. The Facebook, we tripled our page likes and follows since last year. Twitter, we have 2.6 thousand impressions per day. So that just means, 2.5 thousand people, they may not, click on something, but they're seeing it in their feed every day. And Instagram, we just crossed over 1,000 followers. So yeah, we're in some kind of club because we're over 1,000 followers on Instagram. Not necessarily qualifying to be an influencer yet, but we're making our way.
You're getting there.
Right. We've continued putting out the newsletter, the minutes, added a live show, like I said, even with the pandemic and the school closures. And then in July, we added a supplemental communications plan, which you all saw. It was that document I shared back in July that had a lot of TBDs because we weren't aware. We didn't know when things were going to happen, but as we got closer and closer to the start of the school year, we were able to fill in those TBDs. But you can click on that and if you want to refresh your memory about that supplemental communications plan. So that's the year in communications. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out before board members have their questions to Sam, and working with principals on the Facebook Live. You know, Sam and I have worked closely together the last year and a half or so. So it's a little more natural for us to do those events. Not as natural for principals, and they learned quick. They did an outstanding job. And I think that really, everything that Sam just talked about plays itself out in these meetings. We don't get a whole lot, as he said, a whole lot of feedback to you or questions about what's going on or why we're doing this or why we're doing that. Because you got to try really hard to not know what's going on in MUHSD. So just thank you, Sam. Appreciate all your efforts.
Hey, Sam.
Hey.
What was the name of the app you mentioned earlier?
Among Us.
Among Us. Okay, thank you.
You bet. Have you played it?
Not yet.
He's going to now.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's highly addictive. So just fair warning.
All right, thanks.
Oh, thank you, Sam. There's been a lot of growth and improvement, I think, in this area. And you've crossed a lot of platforms, a lot of opportunity to be informed. And I think what I like the best about the ones that I've seen and been exposed to is the fact that, you know, you're recording and you're posting. So if you're not there, you know, to see it live, you can always go back and access that information. So information does seem to be very accessible. So thank you very much for all your efforts.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
congratulations.
I agree, Sam. I'm glad that we as a district were able to create this position, because communication to our constituents has been very, well, it's just been very critical during this time. And via all of the various different platforms and different avenues and whatnot, I think you've done a great job of engaging students, families, staff. And I don't think you mentioned the MUHSD Minute, which happens to be one of my favorites.
The weekly wrap up. Yeah. That's, you know, I have a blast doing it. And the best thing about getting everyone posting now their stuff, and sites have been doing that for a while now, but now if I'm not able to get to something, they'll post it and I can just, you know, steal it off of their feed and include that in the minute. So it's been really helpful. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to goal number 5, exploring the best options to attain student voice at the board level. I think that might be better named increasing communication between students and the district office. I think while I have not done much formally with that, or we have not done much formally with that this fall, because we've had a number of other things to deal with. I think one thing I enjoy is when, and Costa does the same, we had an example, 2 students reach out to us this past week that just, you know, one was frustrated, one just really wanted to share their thoughts and experience, and sent us both an email and thought that was it. And I replied asking them to attend a Zoom meeting with us. And we did that. And between the two, we probably talked for 45 minutes or an hour, getting their feedback on their experience. And, you know, I think it's that personal touch is what we're looking for. As we move into the spring, that's kind of when I do my thing with being available to sites. I will go out in January, and I'm going to make a point. It's usually just with staff in January and early February As we talked a little bit in my evaluation, I will be making a point to do that with students to gather their feedback on their experience with this year, and how do we take that information and use it to make our district better in the future. And then, of course, in May, I will go back to the sites and talk with our seniors. So that is where we are with goal number 5.
Yeah, hello. I don't agree with changing the name of this. It's not how to get their, whatever you said, the name you want to change it to. I think it should have stayed student board member. It was already changed to student voice. And I think we're going away from the original purpose was to have a student board member, and we need to go back on that. That was the goal. And I mean, it sounds like you want to just change the goal totally to just, oh, we're listening to them if they email us or something. But we need to go back to student board member.
Yeah, I didn't say we were changing the name. I said it might be better named because that's what actually happens.
That'll be a discussion we can have, Julio, when we set the goals too.
Yeah, we need to stick to the original, because this originally was student board member. We changed it to student voice. So,
any other comments on number 5? Okay, moving on to goal number 6, exploring digital citizenship options for a comprehensive approach for staff, students, and parents. And Mrs. Garman.
Mrs. Garman, you're on mute.
I said incredibly enlightening and informative things as well. So I will just start over so that you don't miss my comments. I was saying pre-COVID, I had the opportunity to meet with our teacher librarians in the district. They have specialized expertise in this area. So that was my natural go-to to get this started, this exploration phase. And through our collaboration and discussions, we came up with a draft vision, if you will, for digital citizenship in our district. And it's comprised of instilling and promoting 5 key characteristics for our students, hoping they would graduate with these 5 characteristics. And those are digital citizen, empowered learner, global collaborator, innovative designer, and creative communicator. And those are further defined on that link there. For the sake of time, I won't read every definition to you, but I can elaborate further if there are questions later. So in looking at our current practices with what's going on in the district now, we know that our freshman seminar courses typically cover a digital citizenship focused unit. And that would cover the digital citizen characteristic of our draft vision. Our teacher librarians collaborate with staff across various subjects, and they address the empowered learner, the global collaborator, the creative communicator characteristics in those interactions and lessons. Our instructional coaches, our induction mentors, they all host and lead regular workshops like Tech Tuesday, Toolbox Tuesday, that kind of thing to address innovative designer aspect with our staff. We have a parent and community webpage on our website that has digital resources in English and Spanish. That was newly developed in the spring. There were a couple of events that took place pre-COVID with some parent resource nights at 2 different sites and a cybersecurity workshop at a different site that I led that at Livingston. And we have 2 Innovate Ed courses under development with regard to digital citizenship and media literacy, one for students in mind and one for staff. The suggested next steps to pursue any of this further would be, the recommendations would be to adopt the ISTE standards for students, educators, education leaders, and coaches, to align those ISTE standards with our content standards and professional development offerings, to implement our existing 4Cs rubric and begin assessing 4Cs skills, to expand parent education opportunities so that we're promoting technology literacy skills in the home. And final recommended step would be to consider incentivizing course completion of those digital citizenship media literacy courses for staff and or students. So that sums up the work we've done thus far in this topic. Thank you.
I just want to say, Mrs. Garman, thank you for, the next step, they're aligning the standards with the content standards. So they mesh and they're meaningful.
Thank you, Cheryl. Okay, goal number 7. And I do want to delineate between the, goal 1 through 4, which are kind of the big ticket items. And goal 5 through 9 are explore and talk about and provide options for the next step. So, Mr. Weimer, financial literacy.
Yeah, so we had just begun the process last year, right before everything closed down. So very little has been done as far as being able to move forward with this. We did have a survey for students about the topics that they would be interested in including in a financial literacy or adulting type of a class, things that they thought that they needed. And we were in the process of looking at what of those things need to be for all students to make sure that every student gets that before they graduate, and then what's a more in-depth type of a possibly elective course that might go into more detail and on a broader range of topics. We were running into a few issues when we started asking who would be interested in doing a elective class like that on different campuses. We got a variety of different people and a variety of different credentials. And so as we start talking to HR and what that would mean on a course creation, the state of California does not like having a course where a variety of teachers with different credentials teach that type of a course. So we will have to overcome some credentialing issues if we are going to go down that route, and how we would do that for an elective class that's a little bit more in depth. We need the economics teachers to come together to start talking about what we could do for all students as a graduation requirement. There are not that many courses that all students have to take. So we are limited in the range which we have the ability to do that. Most of these standards would fall under a social studies credential if we were looking at who's going to be approved by a state to have certain standards within a course. So we do need to get the economics teachers in the room. And of course, we're not doing those types of activities right now in this setting. So maybe later in the spring, that might become a possibility where we can get them together and start discussing what are the topics that they do cover, what are the standards that we think could easily be put into such as an economics class, and then identifying places that other standards might go a few years earlier than economics, possibly in a US history class or something. It's harder when you get into others because, again, not every student takes them. If you were to say, try to put standards into a math class or a science class, you're not guaranteeing that all students are going to get those standards because not all students take the same math classes, not all students take the same science classes. So we were just about to get started when everything shut down. And again, We need to have teachers in the room for this conversation. So once that becomes possible, hopefully later in the spring, we can start this work back up.
Any questions for Mr. Weimer? Thank you, Mr. Weimer. Goal number 8, exploring options to increase collaboration and communication with feeder districts. We have done a lot in this area, and it has gone fairly well. And Mr. Aguilar, you will finish up with 8 and 9. You're on.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. We have done quite a bit with our feeder schools, and when I say feeder schools, I don't just mean it's one way with our middle schools, but then also our community colleges and our institutions of higher education have been able to have some very, very meaningful discussions. And even this afternoon was able to meet with many of our feeder districts in a math district meeting through the Merced County Office of Education. And it's very glaring that everyone that is feeding into us and who we're feeding to understands that, you know, we are a student-centered district. We want to provide a relevant instruction to our students. We want to provide opportunities for our students to apply their learning. And that's a big shift for people to understand when our feeder districts you know, aren't in that kind of an environment. So part of the communication with the Merced colleges, the UC Merceds, and all 13 of our feeder districts is just that, you know, yes, reading is important, math is important, but for us as a Merced Union High School district, we want to ensure that students apply their learning. So much, and if not all of the conversations have been centered around that, but more specifically around math. With some very, very engaging conversations, and also being able to set up quarterly meetings with many of our larger feeder districts to discuss math in particular. So that relationship has been very good. It's been responded to very, very well by our feeder districts because it is math, which is a concern to all of us. And now even more so with trying to fill the gaps with learning loss. Any questions about the work that we've done with our feeder districts?
Dr. Aguilar, when you talk about math in general, like what specific areas are being talked about, you know, in the math world that, you know, that are hot topics, I guess?
Quite frankly, we're at ground zero because we don't share you know, the sequence of courses for our students with our feeder districts, and our feeder districts don't know our sequence. So even today, what was very evident, I mean, people don't know what Math A is. So when we say we want to reduce the number of students going into Math A and we want to increase the level to integrated 1 so that they are on track to go to a 4-year school if students so choose, school districts don't even know what that means. So we are at the ground zero of us understanding what our feeder districts are doing with math. What does Math 8 look like? You know, what's the pedagogy, right? What are the strategies and what's the content? What assessments are we using? I mean, that is, we are at a very basic, fundamental process of just understanding what the right hand and the left hand, you know, are doing. So we haven't even gotten to, you know, the concepts because we're still trying to understand what we're all doing.
So as part of your dialogue with, I guess, the feeder schools, I mean, at what point do you start to talk about these things? I mean, I can tell you now that, yeah, you know, yeah, teachers probably don't understand, you know, the progression into a UC or you know, system or some or CSU system, you know, that Math A doesn't count or whatever that may be, and you know, kind of to push that envelope on them that, you know, the importance of, you know, of math and trying to get into your college of choice or whatever that may be.
Yes, we had some very good discussions last spring. pre-COVID, and everything came to a screeching halt. We got some really good work done in the south part of our district with Merced City and Weaver, but we did not get a chance to move into the north end. And we had collaboration scheduled with Livingston, Winton, and Atwater Elementary and McSwain, and our teachers to be in the same room. And all of that came to a screeching halt. And again, due to the circumstance that we're in, we are just now this month, December, picking up those conversations and picking up where we left off.
Thank you.
If I could just add, Mr. Lopez, at the county level, we are starting to have or plan to have this conversation in the spring at the superintendent's level. Just this, what you just asked, how do we start? Well, we start by putting superintendents in a room and agreeing to an outcome. You know, we all need to agree that we need to understand each other's system and, you know, what is the overriding objective? What do we want to have happen here? And so that work, I think, will be done this spring and led by the county. And I'll be frank with you, I didn't want to waste our time. It takes a lot of employees. We bring math teachers into that discussion, Costa and his department and myself, and we want that time to be valuable, and we want there to be a clear outcome. So I think the conversation starts at that level, and I hope to see that happen soon.
And I do understand that, Mr. Peterson. Obviously, when we talk about our feeder schools, I mean, we're talking about those directly impacting us, Livingston, Merced, and Atwater, and some of your smaller, you know, outlying area schools that feed into MUHSD. So even without the county's involvement, I mean, I believe it's a dialogue that you can initiate with those superintendents who feed into MUHSD, because at the end of the day, they are MUHSD students, they're not Merced County students.
Absolutely, and he's done a good job of making inroads this year at that level.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything else on number 8 for Mr. Aguilar?
No questions.
All right, moving on to 9. Mr. Aguilar, go ahead, finish it up.
Right. With regard to certifications for our students, quite frankly, have not had the opportunities that they have had in previous years because they don't have access to being on campus every single day and being on campus after school and being on campus during the weekend. So the number of certifications that require students to work on projects, for example, in our construction trades, in our medical technologies, 2 of our very popular pathways, our students just have just not had the opportunity. So we're hoping to increase those numbers here once we get back to having students on campus every day in a traditional schedule. However, we have been able to do a lot of background work with my team in providing more opportunities for our students to get certifications. For example, Sergeant Foster from the Merced Police Department, myself and my team had a really good Zoom conversation with her to bring our forensic science teachers into training with them, so that our forensic science teachers get the opportunity to earn a designated subject credential, but more importantly, to get more industry expertise in the area. So Captain Struble has agreed that, you know, to help us in that area, and we're going to start with the virtual training on Zoom for obvious reasons, and then move into more in-person training with our forensic science teachers. We've also been able to communicate with our construction trades folks, our unions, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, the gentleman that made the public comment. We've been able to work with his union to provide, again, more opportunities and set up more certifications when students do come back to school. So we have taken advantage of that time that we've had, so that when we do have students back on campus, they're going to have more opportunities to earn certifications. And that concludes my topic.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Is there anything else, Mr. Peterson?
No, just a reminder to everyone that this is kind of the beginning of the goal conversation. It's that time of the season, and we will take this conversation into January and further refine it with you.
Very well, thank you.
As we discussed, Superintendent Peterson, during your evaluation, I think it would be really helpful to review the goals at least quarterly, and never more obvious than just now how many goals have been put on your plate. It's a lot to get through a review of all of them, even at one time. Maybe we break them into groups of 3 or something, because they're very, very important. And I think we want all the details and a robust and interactive conversation about it. So thank you for presenting them. I think, depending on how we do evaluations next year or whatnot, they should be presented ahead of the evaluation as well.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Aaron, about maybe every month reporting on a couple, and then we're still in that quarterly cycle. But thank you, Mr. Peterson. It is a lofty list of goals, and there have been other areas of focus this year. So thank you for the progress that you've made on those. With that, then we'll move on to Measure and Bond Committee Annual Report. Mr. Calderon.
Yes, it's certainly my pleasure. In 2008, MUHSD passed a bond, $149,450,000 bond, and as part of that bond, there was a mandate to create an oversight committee. And then from that oversight committee, we have a person from that committee that is going to give you the annual report. And it's my pleasure to introduce a man that had a lot of influence on my life. I'll set him up.
All of our life.
And he's going to give you the presentation, Coach Carden Kalsevich.
Yeah, I wore this special hat for you and Costa too. And
appreciate that.
Horn as well. Hey, who do I talk to about setting up the agenda for next December's meeting in 2021?
Well, me.
Anyway, like you said, I'm Carden Kalsevich, and according to the Oversight Committee, all bond expenditures over the last year, 2020, that included, for the most part, construction on facilities for the new stadium at Merced High School. We're in compliance with the requirements stipulated in the Measure M bond as approved by the voters. And that would mean that none of the bond's proceeds were used for any salaries to district teachers or administrators. And that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Kalsevich, and we hope soon to hopefully get some more funds to make sure that you have a lot to oversee in the coming year. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Kalsevich. No questions in? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Calderon. Next, we have Employee Association comment period.
Mrs. Pickle, no comments from CSEA or DTA were submitted to me.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the consent agenda. Someone want to make a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I second the motion.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Can we have a little bit of discussion first? I have a couple questions.
Okay.
I noted that there were no stipends for fall athletics, and yet our coaches are coaching. And so I just, wanted to ask a couple questions about that. I know, we're not having traditional seasons, but nevertheless, coaches are giving of their time and effort and training our student athletes.
Board Member Ham, we have been in discussions about that. When we came out of the summer session, after paying the summer session stipends, we did talk about that we were going to have a very long off season from approximately August through December 7th. That was supposed to start our fall season, or our first season, and that's been delayed longer. So we certainly are in talks, and we've got a meeting scheduled tomorrow to talk about how we can potentially compensate coaches that have had an extended season. Currently, we have a Schedule B stipend sheet that's negotiated and part of the DTA contract. That is really the only thing that we have to look to in terms of compensation. But certainly, if there's an interest, we can explore other options. Right now, what's on the table to discuss with athletic directors is potentially splitting those stipends, trying to give half of the stipend for those that have trained students throughout the fall and now the winter, and then giving them the other half of the stipend once the season progresses.
Got it. I mean, as we know, nothing's been normal about this year. And I know we paid spring stipends despite seasons being cut dramatically short, right? Because coaches were anticipating that those would happen. We paid summer stipends, again, even though we only had, a very brief period of time. But still, I don't know what coaches' expectations were for the fall. And I want to make sure we're being fair as a district.
Yes, we clearly communicated to them that it would be an off-season program. And when it's off-season, it's on their own time. We expected to be back in session, in season by December 7th, and that hasn't happened. So I very much agree with you. I think we have to go back. The problem is that we cannot unilaterally make these kinds of funding decisions. That's something that needs to be negotiated. And the only thing that we have to look to is what's available to us in Schedule B.
Okay, got it.
I think it's an appropriate time to comment on athletics a little bit with this question, just so people are aware that the state has approved guidance for schools to follow in the spring, and it generally follows the color-coded process we have set up. And so I just want parents and students and coaches to be aware the outlook for athletics is better today than it was yesterday. And that county superintendents, the section office, our staff are all working on the very best plan, most efficient and effective plan to get things opened up as soon as we can per the state guidelines. So.
Awesome.
If I may, part of the consent agenda are also stipends for band directors and percussion and flag carriers, color guard. I hope that the band directors are starting to share with us their virtual performances. The city of Livingston, Color Guard performed in their lighted parade. So they also have been very busy making sure that kids are having their moment to shine. And looking at some of those videos, my gosh, the passion that kids have for their elected activity is just awesome. And it, I don't want to sound too mushy, but it rewards the soul to watch those kids perform and be so proud of what they're doing. And I'll tell you that trying to do that when kids are doing their pieces in their bedrooms and then bringing it back to the band director and having the band director have to sync it all up is an incredible feat. So kudos to our band directors.
No, it's been awesome to get their holiday cheer and watch either their performances or their mesh videos together. And it's great to see you get a little bit mushy, Ralph.
Yeah, more to come. There's I'm told that there's drama performances that are coming as well.
Awesome, very cool.
Yeah, they found some great workarounds to present and very creative. I mean, there's some real creative folks out there.
Yeah, they're planning to do a drive-by Christmas march if they can put it together. But man, they've just been working hard. All of the adults that do extracurricular activities have just been phenomenal.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Peter. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tiffany.
No,
Mr. Peterson, on item 15.09, I know we've got the schedule for summer school. Are we looking to make that an in-person summer school this year to kind of get that motivation back to get on campus? Versus...
Oh yeah, Costa, you can speak to this after I get done, but absolutely, we want kids back on campus. I think we all understand it. It just has to happen. We are going to be dealing with a serious a problem with grades, and the only way to make that up and have it be quality is going to be face to face. Not to say we won't have an opportunity for online, but the majority will be. Mr. Aguilar.
Yes, and with the summer school this year, and because it's learning loss is such a great issue. Every campus is going to run their own summer school. So we've already met with every campus. Most campuses already have a tentative plan put together. We will revisit all of the summer school plans for every site after the semester is over on January 14th. So we will meet again with every site to review their plans, and at that point we will post positions, and the instructional focus is going to be student-centered, around the 4 C's, not your traditional summer school. We need to get back to training our students and back to the culture of student-centered learning. And it's time to take a break from being in front of the laptop. So there's a lot of good work that I will be sharing here in the coming months about what we're planning.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar.
Sorry, Richard, you go ahead.
Yeah, one last thing, Dr. Aguilar. When we talk about learning loss, I mean, do we have a common assessment? I mean, I know that it looks different for I guess for high school because of the progression of the classes that students are enrolled in. But what measure are we using to say that there has been learning loss? And then what's the plan to try to, I guess, one, assess it and then to address it?
Right. So we're going to define learning loss very fundamentally with credit recovery right now. So we are going to look at students' grades. start there with regard to trying to fill the gaps. Because if a student failed the class, obviously, they didn't master some of the or many of the standards. So that goes to the design that we're building and services team to address the essential standards, to ensure that the students are getting the essential standards, but then also so that we hit the standards that are also on the interim assessments and they're on the CASP tests. So as our team is designing those, we are highlighting and making sure that we are including those standards in the lessons that teachers will be giving during the summer.
Thank you.
Is anything else being done, Dr. Aguilar? I mean, currently, before we get to summer, because we still have half a year left, that is different or independent of credit recovery, because the grades may not be representative of the learning, especially with, the current situation, of course, different situations individual students might be in, as well as different grading practices and policies that different teachers have.
Certainly, and the second part of this the learning loss is what we're going to do in the spring, and more importantly, our seniors. So we want to make sure that that we hit all students, but I think that making sure that our students that are seniors that failed a class or two or more during the semester, that we're providing opportunities for those students to recover credit. And quite frankly, it's really contingent upon how much access we have to campus. So the more access we have to students returning to campus, the more innovative those lessons are going to be for students to engage with, to provide them different opportunities and different strategies to recover a lot of that learning and also the credits.
So are we reporting learning loss, the assessment of that just through graduation rates then?
We're going to start right now with credit recovery. So that's, if a student's not earning the credits to graduate, that's how we'll start. And yes, to answer your question, yes, graduation rates are really important to us, as I think was shared in the Pulse. Pretty outstanding work by many of, if not all of our sites with regard to that. So that's our primary goal. And that's part of our vision statement, right? That every student will walk across the stage with a diploma in hand, college credit, and a CTE certification. So that's our goal right now. And that's the focus that we've given our campuses.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the item?
I just wanted to ask about summer school. In recent years, it's been report to class, get a Chromebook, and learn online. So you're saying this year it will be mostly in classroom, or no? Did I hear that wrong?
Yeah, our goal is, the way we're designing summer schools, for every student to be on campus. And there are 4 areas that we are working on. Our Ed Services team are designing week-long lessons for teachers to teach around math, science, social science, and English.
And will
that are project-based, student-centered, with a universal design flavor to them.
Got it. And will they be remedial in nature as well, or yeah?
These are all remedial, with the exception of our special education students and our migrant students, who always are given the opportunity during summer for advancement. And we're also working with our teachers union to provide incoming freshmen elective credit for math. So part of what we're trying to do is to fill that gap with our incoming freshmen as well around math. We won't give them, our goal is not to give them math credit, but elective credit. They're just, that window in summer school just isn't enough time to really warrant math credit to a student, but we want to give them credit. So we're looking at elective credit instead of math, but looking at really innovative and creative lessons for our teachers to use for our students to hit the standards that students don't understand.
That's outstanding. Thank you. I mean, the number of kids that come already far behind in math to our district, that can only help. So thank you. Good
Yeah, I'm
idea.
really excited to share that work. We've got a talented group in our Ed Services team that are working really, really hard on designing these lessons for our teachers in our summer program. The summer school program will be vastly different than in the past.
And since you brought it up, I'm just going to throw it out there real quickly. The data is no longer embargoed. So of our 6 comprehensive sites, only 1 was just barely under 95% graduation rates. The all others were all above 95%, with Livingston High School having a 99% graduation rate.
That's fantastic.
Really awesome.
Any other questions or comments before we call for the vote? I think we're ready, Leslie.
You want me to read donations, Tiffany? Do I take over this job from you?
Yes, I was going to mention that. I thought, well, maybe we'll do it for the next one. But yes, if you have it up, that would be fantastic.
Okay, so we would like to thank, on behalf of Merced Union High School District, those who donated to the Jim Epler Memorial Scholarship, which include Michael Hansen, Richard Eubner, and Kathleen Crookham.
Thank you, Mrs. Ham.
Mr. Valadez, I haven't received your vote.
Yeah, sorry, I was taking some notes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Next item is the 6th addendum to the employment agreement between the district and Superintendent Peterson. But before we take action on the item, there is a statement that needs to be read. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision C3, the board provides this oral summary of the salary and/or fringe benefit increase recommendation for the following local agency executives. The position is the superintendent. The term is July 1st, 2021 through June 30, 2022. Salary will be $219,042. Other elements, there are none listed. So with that, is there a motion to approve the addendum to the superintendent's contract?
Are we going to have some discussion?
Yes, we can make the motion and then have some discussion before we vote.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
Okay. So any discussion? Julio, was there anything that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I wanted to say that maybe this time we don't go with the 3% raise. I don't think it's a good time. You know, there's we've been talking about the CTE program at Castle and what's 3% of that? That's about $6,000. I don't know. That's not a lot, but is that something that we can put towards that program and helping that out instead? I don't know if it's the right time for an additional raise.
Well, I believe as part of the contract, it's embedded in the contract. So it would not be, I think, for us at this point to remove that increase from the contract. It could be denied. But I think we need to approve the contract as is.
Okay, I don't agree, but that's my opinion.
Unless I'm mistaken.
No, you are correct, Tiffany. It's one of those things that we would have to negotiate with Mr. Peterson. Obviously, if he would be open to that discussion. I mean, we created this contract, years ago, and unfortunately, yeah, we can see it one way, the 3% increase. Let's say for whatever reason, we negotiate with our teachers next year for 5%. Mr. Peterson would only get the 3% because that's as per contract. So I mean, it can go both ways. You know, his 3% may not look good right now. It may look good right now. You know, I mean, these are the circumstances. This is the agreement we have with him. So.
So, I mean, if that's the agreement we have, why do we have to vote on it if it's already a done deal?
Well, it's based.
Yeah, no, we were voting on the extension, the addendum to his contract.
But that includes the raise.
That's correct. That's his contract. So like Richard was saying, we'd have to renegotiate the entire contract to alter the percent increase.
So Alan, are you open to renegotiating? I mean, do you even have how would we do that?
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that, Mr. Valadez.
I don't think we do that right now. Julio, I think the motion before us is to approve or not approve the addendum to the contract as is with that percent increase. So if you don't agree, you can vote no to that, but the motion on the floor is to vote on the addendum as stated.
Yes, I know I can submit my vote for whatever I want, but I wanted to bring that up. So I brought it up and that's it.
Is there any other discussion on the item before we vote?
I just wanted to, we did this in closed session, but I just wanted to publicly thank Alan for his tremendous leadership through this pandemic. I think he's done a remarkable job for our district and our communities and county as a whole.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready for the vote. Mr. Roebuck. Okay, and the motion passes 3-1. Thank you. Next item is the Long Range Facilities Master Plan contract for services. And Mr. Calderon.
President Pickle, a facilities master plan is an ongoing process that results in the creation of a comprehensive living document. Both the process and document are designed to ensure that the school and community-based plan is created through a consensus of participants in the facilities master planning process. The purpose of the plan is to develop and communicate an efficient process to change the district school facilities to better accommodate and support its current and future educational programs. It will serve as a guide for facility improvement and capital investments. The facilities master plan will determine the scope, the repairs, modernization, upgrade, and/or new construction needed to serve the current and future school facility needs of the district and its community. It will also assess and identify potential federal, state, and local funding sources and financing options available to the district, and will import a prudent view of the scope of projects that may reasonably be accomplished with available funds. On March 3rd, 2020, Merced Union High School District held competitive interviews in response to the advertised request for proposal for a long-range facilities master plan. A committee of MUHSD employees interviewed 4 professional agencies who successfully submitted a response to the LRFMP RFP. SIM PBK architects presented a plan that deemed to be best suited to meet the needs of the students, our community, and the district. Prior to me reading the recommendation, I have with us tonight both Gary Geary and John Smith to give you a brief presentation, and then I will read the superintendent's recommendation. Gary or John?
Actually, I'm going to take it, Ralph. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you to Board President Pickle. Congratulations, and also congratulations to Mr. Valadez on your new positions there on the board, and the rest of the board. Thank you for allowing us to talk to you a little bit about the importance of a long-range master plan and why we'd like to be a part of that project. And I'm going to give you a quick overview on who I am. I know we've only got 10 minutes, but I am a partner at SMPBK Architects. We're located in Fresno. I've been doing work in the K-12 industry for about 35 years and have done probably 24 long-range master plans in that time. Gary, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, and I'm Gary. Gary, also a partner with PBK, and also been doing school work for about 30 years and have done probably 10 or 12 long-range facility master plans myself, and spent a number of years growing up in Merced. So.
And then, you gave a little bit of a timeline, Ralph. We did interview for this back in February of 20, March of 20. We were selected. We actually went on a couple different walks of all the campuses with Ted Wallstrom in middle of March, just before COVID hit. And then everybody kind of knows what happened. Everything went into kind of a holding pattern, and we are where we are today. Next slide, please. Oh,
sorry, that happened fast.
Go back one more if you can. If no, go back. Going forward. Now go in. No,
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I can't talk that fast. Right.
Okay, I'm going to try and use. I have to use the.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Good.
So it's important for us to get to know the district, and in working on a master plan, we know that you have specific visions and missions, and during a master plan type project, we will get to do just that. We'll get to know the district quite well because we have a very collaborative process, and vice versa. You're going to get to know us quite a bit better. We learned a little bit tonight, Gary and I did. We heard a little bit about the superintendent, some of his goals for 2021. Quite an impressive set of goals. So good luck with that. I think you're going to do a great job doing that. I really did enjoy the FFA presentation. I thought they did a great job. Next slide. One of the things we know about your district is it is quite diverse. You mentioned that a couple of times tonight, and we understand that your students are diverse. You also have some very diverse pathways throughout your district. And one of the things a master plan can do is make sure that all of those pathways are taken into consideration as we think about the pedagogy and how that pedagogy affects facilities. We're gonna want to make sure that all those different pathways somehow make it into your standards. Next slide. I've been told I have 10 minutes to do about 20 slides, so I'm trying to go fast. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what a long-range master plan is. Next slide. That's the one right there. So long-range master plan should be student-centric. The student should always be at the center of all facility designs. So you see their bubble right there in the middle. So everything kind of evolves around that. We also think a master plan can help you create equity amongst campuses, not equality, but equity. So you're going to make sure that each campus has equal parts for all campuses and all students to be happy and treated fairly. We also know that the curriculum and the pedagogy has to really be taken into account. So that educational programming, we will take a look at that to make sure that we understand that before we start to design facilities. And then a long-range master plan can provide a very strategic financial map. And it is a very, it's a valuable tool, and it is a living, breathing document. We're going to talk a little bit about that later, but it's a document that you can use to save money in the long run. The other thing it can do for you is with great community outreach, which we would suggest be a part of this master planning process. It provides you with a tool to create consensus amongst your community, and that consensus can help in the years ahead to passing bonds. Next slide. So every master plan that I've ever done, and probably Gary too, has been customized. We customize it based on exactly what your needs are. And so we definitely want it to be your master plan. We do know that very consistently, we want to have a process that is very collaborative in nature. We really want to talk to as many end users as we can and get their input on this master plan. We want to be very transparent. We need to share this information throughout the community, through the district, with all the different stakeholders that are going to come across these facilities. And our ultimate goal for a master plan is to provide solutions for the overall solutions for the district. And those solutions will also be at each school for every program. And again, as I mentioned, community outreach during this master plan process really does help create consensus and support for future bonds. One thing we suggest too is for that transparency part, that communication part, developing a web page to put that master plan on so that people can see what's going on during the process and after the process is complete. Next slide. So the roadmap to creating a long-range master plan. One of the things that we'll want to do is to make sure that the district's educational goals are very clear. During a master planning project, sometimes those goals become more clear. We're going to sit down with a lot of the different staff folks to talk about those goals. Staff at every level, from superintendent down all the way through custodial folks. We want to make sure that the curriculum, the pedagogy, is getting supported by the facilities that we're designing and remodeling. That's important. We want to make sure that the infrastructure at each site is looked at. And infrastructure not only means what sort of utility lines you may have crisscrossing the campus, but infrastructure means, it could mean gymnasiums, it could be NPRs, specialty classrooms, and that sort of thing. So we're going to want to make sure that infrastructure is looked at, and this is a place where we start to get into that equity issue. Want to take a look at the rough order of magnitude of costs for all of these master plan ideas and construction projects and deferred maintenance projects and such. And so that too is part of a master plan. That will help your M&O staff. It helps your CBO plan for cash flow and that sort of thing. The other big part of a master plan is to create priorities for projects. You're going to have, I guarantee it, you're going to have many more needs than you have money. It never fails, and typically it's kind of surprising how much delta there is between needs and money. But by going through this master planning process and creating priorities, you'll determine best on how to spend available funds that you have. And that the last item there, funding opportunities, we will, as we're looking at each of the campuses, we're going to look for modernization eligibility that you may have on any of your campuses. Anything older than 25 years old will be eligible for some dollars. We'll be helping you look for different grant type opportunities that exist. We actually have 3 consultants that we work with very closely, consultants to PBK that know Sacramento and where some of those pots of money are hidden. And we utilize them to help you find more money to do more projects. Next slide. One of the things the master plan will do is create a bit of a template. So every campus will be fit into a template so that we'll have our needs assessment surveys and site analysis, all those different things. Every campus will have that type of a template. And so it gives some great, quick, high-level observation capabilities. It also allows you to sort of study between all the different campuses, some of the different issues that you may want to be looking at. But by templating it all consistently, it gives you some real flexibility on how to use this master plan. One thing too, I don't think I've mentioned enough, and that is that this is a tool. It's a living, breathing tool. I think you mentioned that, Ralph, at your intro. We've seen master plans. You probably have too. They're sitting on a shelf somewhere, collecting dust, and that's a waste of money. The type of master plan that we've been doing lately, especially with technology being what it is, it's all electronic. It's all spreadsheet database. And it is something that part of our services is we keep that database up. So as you progress through the years to come, we start checking off some of the boxes on that spreadsheet to help your M&O staff keep track, to help your CBO keep track. It's a great working tool. Next slide. So this wheel would be something that again would be customized to the topics that the district feels is important to you. These are fairly common types of topics. You see from sustainability to next generation learning technology, architecture. Most of those are fairly common, but you may have some very specifics. You might have something that you want to get a little bit more ag related. I know you have a great ag program there. So anyway, we will discuss all those topics and kind of create a holistic approach to putting this master plan together. Next slide. So one of the things that a long-range master plan really helps do is facilitate ownership and create consensus. And we do that by all kinds of end user stakeholder meetings and engagements. And that includes sitting down with every single campus and all the different different types of staff members on that campus, and talking about their campus and what sort of issues they're having, what sort of ideas and goals and visions they might have of their campus. But we really want to get that end user involved in the process. We want to get the district leadership involved. And this tool really allows that district leadership some real high level visibility of your whole district, and helps you make some big command decisions going forward. Make sure we talk to the site leadership. We want to bring them in and bring the teachers and staff in again to let them be heard is one thing. Tell their story, listen to them, find out as much as we can about what some of their goals are for this master plan and their specific sites. We want to talk to the students. They also want to be heard. And it's amazing how many great ideas we have gotten from students over the years. You know, they live at these campuses all day, every day, as much as the teachers sometimes. And so it's really, really good to hear their voice. And then last, the community members. They too want to be heard. They too have visions of your district and your campus. And so we want their input. And then community members, I think really, I want to say there is, maybe it's the industry partners. I heard a comment today from some of your construction industry partners. We want to create maybe a better bond with some of those industry partners. And by going through a long-range master plan and involving some of those outside community members, they too will feel heard. Okay, next slide. So this is a quick example, a couple sheets of what pieces and parts of the master plan would look like. And I don't know how well you're going to be able to read everything, but we do show a blow up of the site plan on the next slide. But part of the master planning first is a site plan. So you see there at the lower left, that is an actual site plan of Merced High. These are ideas. This is just really kind of an overview of some things that Mr. Wallstrom and us discussed the day we walked the campus. But every campus would have a site plan that shows, and we'll talk a little bit about that more in the next slide. But the other parts of this slide is priority. I think in your RFQ, you talk about how long out this master plan should go. We typically go 20, 25 years. So we're going to be master planning for quite a ways into the future. And that helps you start to phase and prioritize things. And then the other part of it is every campus would be given a site narrative. And so in that narrative, we start to really break down the different priorities and go through, and we get quite a bit more detailed. This is really kind of a summary narrative. Next page. So this is a little bit more of a blow up of that site plan. And now you can start to see with some of the color coding and labeling, you see the buildings there on the right hand site plan. Those are buildings that when we had our walk with Ted, those are buildings that he felt we may not need any work done to. And again, this is just illustrative purposes. These are more Ted's ideas than probably anybody else's, but it just to show you how some of these plans can work. The boxes, all the classrooms there in orange were to receive modernization type work, interior modernization. We understand there's a need for a new aquatic center, a new VAPA center, and a new ag barn there to the north. There was also some talk that maybe the district yard that is shown in that upper left-hand corner hatched, that might want to be moved to a different location. And by doing so, it would allow for more future expansion of this campus. So again, this is just a real quick snapshot. And this was a one-day walk with Mr. Wallstrom, but it shows you some of the ideas behind a master plan. We also, I think you may have been given an example, hard copy. Were we able to hand that to folks, Leslie? Okay, so we gave you an example of a master plan that we did up at Twin Rivers up in Sacramento a couple years ago, and of the Foothill High School master plan. And I'm not going to, it's kind of hard to go through that without looking at on the screen here, but you can see the level of detail that we get to on every single campus. We bring in for the master plan, not only do we have architects that walk every campus and meet with all your staff, but we bring in electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, plumbing engineers, and civil folks. So we bring in quite a few professionals that will be able to analyze your sites and help us with the master planning process. So I'm probably way over 10 minutes. I didn't time myself, but Gary, do you have anything to add before we open it up for questions?
No, I think we'll just open it up for the questions, and I might add anything during that time.
Okay.
Before we do this, I just want to make sure that the reason that we are hiring this firm is to make sure that the dollars that we spend on very big projects in the future aren't dollars that we have to spend twice. In other words, when we think we have an opportunity to take care of a facility need, it's important for us to know the sequencing that's going to give us the biggest bang for our buck as we move forward. We don't want to put portables somewhere where it costs us an extra $50,000 to locate them, and we know it's going to be a temporary basis when they have directed us, or we've got a document in front of us that says, if this is going to be a temporary project, build it here. It's much closer, and you won't have to spend those dollars or make improvements to a facility that you didn't need. So our hope is that we're going to get a product that's actually going to save us money in the long run. Questions for them or for me?
So if this is approved, what, just briefly, would be the immediate next step and timeline for that?
So the immediate next step would be to meet with the district, whether it's some sort of a committee, whether it's a design committee, whatever you want to call it. But we meet with the committee to talk a little bit about all of the different pieces and parts of a master plan. Because again, we're going to customize this to your needs. So we start right out of the chute with just sort of an opening type meeting to find out a little bit more about what you'd like that master plan to be. Once we find that out, we get a little bit more detail about your needs and even learn a little bit about your pedagogy and that sort of thing. Then we will start to do a survey. We will go out to every campus, and we will spend probably a couple days at each campus with 4 to 5, maybe 6 people canvassing the campus. And we'll take thousands of pictures by the time we're done with all campuses, and plot and note all of the different the different state of equipment and facilities. We assess all the facilities. So we do that. Once we do that, then we come back with that information and report that out to your committee to let you know what we've found. We would have several different meetings along that time frame with your committee, and then we would probably have a couple town hall outreaches again, because I think you want to hear from not only site folks but community parents and some students, and so there'd be a little bit of that input. One of the things too, one of the parts of this plan is to create some standards. You probably have some standards that you're using throughout the district, but I think it's a great opportunity, and it's within our contract right now to analyze those standards. Do they need to be upgraded? Do they need to be a little bit more next generation proofed? Safety and security is a hot topic these days, and we actually have a safety and security division these days. Good clean air and new HVAC systems is a hot topic too. So we would discuss all that, and then we start to kind of compile that into a series of reports. And once we have a lot of that information kind of under our belts, that's when we start doing some site plan designing. And so again, we do outreach to the community. I've gone to a couple of these things where we go to the community, and I want to hear from the community what they think the different sites need. And that's not to say that that's what obviously we're going to do, but we can build consensus in those meetings to kind of figure some of that stuff out. But so it's a back and forth thing. we report out, we give you some things, you give us some feedback. We kind of go back and forth a couple times. It's probably 5 to 6, 7 months that it takes to do all that, to meet with all those folks, create some of those documents, draft them, get them to you, have you review them, and then update them.
Thank you.
Well, I have quite a few questions. The first is just very directly, why would you tell us we need to hire a firm such as yours to create a long-range master plan? The cost is $250,000, and that's more than we just approved to pay our superintendent for, a school year. Why wouldn't we be better served to hire a dedicated employee with a lot of knowledge and expertise to create a long range plan for us? We've had them in the past. I know you've spent some time with Ted, and he's no longer with our district, but we did have a plan, with Ted previously.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've been doing this for 35 years. And I've been doing almost all K-12, and same thing with Gary and our other companies in California and Texas have been doing it even longer. We know schools, I think, as well as anybody in the nation. That's all we've been doing is K-12. We've been doing it all over the nation. So I think we can bring to you some things that if we were to just hire somebody that's not a professional licensed architect I don't think would ever dream of. I just don't think that they have the vision and the experience to think at some of the high levels and detail that we can. And we've not only done these long range master plans. Gary's living one right now in Sacramento where we're sitting down with the client on a weekly basis, looking at that plan and helping them decide what projects need to be done when and why, and what's the best cash flow. And I don't think there's a single person out there that could do all that. Number one, there's just probably not enough time in a day. And I don't think there's anybody that has that much breadth of knowledge. I mean, I don't even have all the breadth of knowledge. I've got to bring in an electrical engineer, plumbing. I've got to bring some experts in. And those are people we work with all the time, all day. And so I think you're getting tons of experience. You're getting tons of manpower so that it can be done in a timely manner. And you're getting a future partner to help you make business decisions into the long range future.
I can add to that answer. We pushed this down the road for the last 5 years, and I had the same conversation with Ted, and Ted can do the nuts and bolts, but and I love Ted, but he's not at this level clearly, and he would admit that. And he told me, Aaron, that Alan, we're eventually going to have to do this. So. It's just a requirement, and it is also a kind of important stakeholder building process as we begin to build new projects. I mean, things are going to happen in the next year, and it's important to have that long range plan. My question to you, John, is you said it is a living document. You change it, you update it. It doesn't sit on the desk. So for how long?
So John, I'll just jump in. So John, started out, I'll talk about this Twin Rivers one that we set the sample on. He developed that plan back in 2015, I believe it was.
Yep.
And we will sit down with the district actually every year, and we go through all the projects that we've identified at every single school district. And we pull the plan out, we look at the site plan, we look at the identified projects and say, okay, this is what's been accomplished in the last year. what things may have changed in the last year that we now don't want to do, don't need to do, what we need to look at adjusting on the site. And we'll take it and we'll update it. And at the end of that year, the district now has a new and updated plan based on where they've progressed, because things do change and money comes along and we can get some projects done. So, you know, I have seen way too many plans that get done and they just sit on a shelf and they look pretty when you flip through them, but they're not necessarily practical to use and to provide the direction to accomplish projects in a logical manner, which ultimately will save money for the district, kind of how what Ralph was talking about.
So I'm not sure, Alan, if he exactly answered your question, but I don't think there's a stopping point necessarily. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Part of the reason we do master plans is we're trying to develop a relationship. I'd love to work with Merced for the next 20 years, although I'm not going to be working that much longer, but at least 10 years. And so it's a great relationship building tool too. And if we can sit down with you and work on your master plan, and you have a need for an expert for a new aquatics complex, well, we've done 4 or 5 of those, maybe 10. And so it's a good way for us to stay in front of you. And so,
but that 225,000 doesn't last forever.
No,
Right.
but some of those projects that we might be able to do along the way cover it.
Okay.
So that's kind of my question that you've both addressed, I think, a bit, is what is the term of our relationship with you, the district's relationship? So it would basically be a 5-year relationship. You're going to develop the master plan. We go back and revisit, but we have access to you over that 5-year period.
Absolutely.
As needed.
Yep.
That's what we've been doing. I know with Twin Rivers, so they'll call us and we'll look at stuff and we'll sit down with them and we'll go back in and make changes.
And that's just the plan. I mean, we still have the cost of executing these.
Yeah.
So this is just your services over the 5 years with the plan.
Yeah.
Just with that master plan. Right.
I want to make sure I'm understanding the contract. The agreement with you is for 5 years for the same amount. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. It's and I think it was 250. I'm not sure, Alan, if it, yeah.
It's
250.
250.
Yep. So and the way that works, Mr. Valadez, is we're going to build that master plan in about 6 to 8 months, somewhere in that time. And once it's built, it's an electronic spreadsheet, so to speak. And it like Gary says, we may come up once a year, might be every 6 months, to talk a little bit about how you're progressing on all of those projects. We're going to give you a list of projects. You're going to help us develop that list. And once you pick off and you do the re-roof of Merced High, okay, boom, we take that. We check that mark. We don't go back to that one, and we know now we're going on to the next project. So that's part of that grading and updoing things from time to time. Is when you do something, now we can take it off the list.
So
go ahead.
I know we mentioned Ted's name a few times. He's been gone now. We have Ms. Melissa Miller now.
Yes.
Right.
So what is her role in all this? I mean, I know her role, but why is she not saying anything? We need to hear from her as well.
Well, probably because I've been talking too much.
Yeah. Okay. And we have met with her a number of times too, since after Ted left. So
so she would probably be someone we would get to know quite well and work very close. I think she might, she probably should be a key member in that committee that gets put together. And but again, you create a bit of a committee. But I think one of the things that we think is very important to do a master plan, I think again why a firm of our size and experience, is the outreach to the different user groups. we're very good at that, and we understand how to create consensus. We understand, we've been asking these questions for 35 years, and we're good listeners, and so she's going to be a very valuable team member in that way.
Alan, what is Miss Melissa Miller's position? Can you clarify that?
Director of Facilities.
The exact same title as Ted, right?
Or, I'm sorry, manager.
Manager. Melissa's on. She's a panelist tonight. I mean,
yeah, I see her. I'm just saying we've been mentioning Ted, but she's the one here now. Mentioning her and how you're working with her. I mean, what we're doing with her, because she is in charge of what we're talking about, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, she just completed the concession gateway entrance at Merced High School. I think she gave the presentation, was it 2 months ago, on current projects and potentially near future projects that she's 100% responsible for.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying that, Ted's gone, so let's just talk about her and how she's in this position now.
So just to clarify, this, like John said, this was originally implemented when Ted was in this position. However, taking it on and moving forward, I have met along with some members of the cabinet to discuss this with Gary and John, and to pursue this further. So yeah, we are very much, I am very much part of the process.
All right, thank you. I just wanted to hear that because I'm not gonna keep saying it, but we keep hearing Ted, but I wanted to hear that you're involved in this as well and that you're there.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
She inherited what Ted started, but I imagine she'll be a key player, as we move forward with anything related to facilities. So.
Right. I have a couple more questions, I guess, if you don't mind.
No.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're thinking this through, and I think your responses to various different trustees and superintendent have been very helpful. One of the things that I think would make me feel more comfortable about all of this would be to see the proposal, the scope of the project, what all is included and not included. We just did a solar project and there was a surprise in there that we didn't know about and whatnot. So, we don't have that to react to. We just have a figure. So from my vantage point, it would be, I think, nice for the board to see the proposal. And then the other thing I wanted to just mention is, because we had hoped to put a bond on the ballot in November, we actually did quite a bit of work as a district in the winter months ahead of the pandemic and the shutdown, meeting with students and faculty and community members. And Ted did lead those meetings. I was at several of them. The turnout was overwhelming. People were incredibly passionate about the projects that they would like to see, from facility improvements to just new facilities. And I would hate to think that information just was lost and we have to start over, especially given the tremendous response that we got, the number of people who showed up and shared. So I know, Julio, I'm sorry to say this, but Ted recorded them. Melissa, I don't recall that you were at the meetings that I went to, but I hope that information lives somewhere and we can pull it back up and maybe utilize some meetings moving forward to help prioritize the list or whittle things down, because it was literally just, people threw out absolutely everything and anything that they wanted to see. It was very exhaustive, and obviously we don't have the funds to do everything. So.
Yes. So I was part of that, and in that I did help pull together some of the list and maintain that list. And we do have all that documentation. We have discussed it already with Gary and John. So, you know, some of that's already been communicated to them. And we have narrowed down, you know, several of our main items of importance at all of our sites.
Yeah, prior to bringing this recommendation to you, we went back and identified various areas in the district that really don't have any reason to be touched or looked at for at least the next 5 years because the facilities are so brand new. So we've done that. We've honed in on what all of those groups, all of that was accessible to them. We have a lot of that information, and that's why we're able to get to this contract price.
Would you say, Ralph, that what we're seeing right now is really the second step for the next phase to that survey information that we previously did?
I think they still have to do their own, you know, their own meetings just to make it theirs, but they have a lot of information to work with. We do have access to Ted's recordings and Ted's lists and all of that information, and we'll be working with John and Gary to make sure that they have it. So yes, they have a taste of what our community wants and what they have talked about. So yeah, we're a little bit further along, but we wanted to do that work ahead of time to make sure that that we focus them in, you know, I don't want to hear about the repainting of El Capitan because it doesn't need a paint job for the next few years.
Right, and we'll re-engage our stakeholders as
exactly.
we progress.
Exactly.
Yeah, Aaron, thank you for bringing that up. I agree with you. I was just looking to make sure that I know that Ted had worked on things, and I did attend at least one of those meetings as well. And then he came and presented to us a big old long list. So I know we have that because he presented it to us, and then it was gonna be cut down afterwards. But I just wanted to make sure that Ms. Melissa was not being left out of this. I just wanted to make sure she's part of this because she is doing Ted's job now. That's all.
You know, in fact, when and I won't even say his name anymore, the past facilities guy, okay? When he took us to each of the campuses, he told us about the fact that he had some community members and staff folks walk him through those campuses. So I think that's why he felt as confident about telling the story of those campuses. It wasn't just his story; it was stories that he had been gathering from all those outside user groups. So, and I don't see any reason to discard any of that information. My gosh, let's use it to our advantage. If we need to delve deeper in certain areas, we will. But it's a good head start.
Yeah, we took extensive notes when we were doing all that, and then we actually sat down and shared all that with Melissa and reviewed it. You know, COVID in the middle of this has kind of stretched out this process, and so we're a little off kilter with where things would be. So, but no, we shared all that. We know that stuff has taken place, and we've got a pretty good idea of what some of the priorities that the community was talking about. And so we'll just end up, you know, using that as kind of a basis and want to go back and make sure that that's what they're feeling and start showing them some of this to get their consensus and buy-in. Because you're going to need that if you're going to want them to, you know, vote in favor of a bond in 2022. And that is one of the big things of why a district does do a facility master plan. You have a company that you hire who is outside the district. So that is one thing that, you know, gives the district a little bit more, you know, sometimes there is some concerns when you have stuff done in-house. So staff see, you know, the community sees you've hired a company who's done a lot of these. They know, they then meet with the community and they feel, okay, they're listening to us, you know, because I think there's sometimes can be some skepticism when it's internal. And then through the process, with the transparency of the website and having people see how it's developing, it really helps them to go, hey, these guys are really hearing us. They're really putting something solid together, and we really need to do some of these things. And it's very helpful to get a bond passed.
Oh, yeah, and Mr. Smith, you're okay to say Zed's name. It's fine. I just want to make sure we bring Ms. Miller's name too.
Yes.
Yeah, but I do want to ask, following up on Ms. Ham's comments, is this something that we can put to another meeting so that we can get more information, kind of like as she was asking earlier?
We have given a proposal that sort of broke down the scope pretty well, Mrs. Ham, but we can give, if there's some more, or if you guys don't have, Melissa would.
Yes, I can certainly provide that information. We have it here in the office, and I'm happy to distribute it amongst all the board members.
Yeah,
go ahead.
If you're asking if this is the end of the world if we push this to January, it is not.
I think the concern might be, are there any additional costs embedded in this somewhere?
Yeah.
Or is $250 the out the door price?
Right. Well, that's my concern is, obviously the cost associated now, $250 total for 5 years. Okay, that's $50,000 a year. What is the brunt of the work being done at the beginning? And then what do we get for the remaining out years, if anything? And then obviously there's no time stamp on this thing because of the circumstances we're in now. I mean, there's no rush. I mean, our facilities are going to be the same for the next 6 months, and then because there's nobody being on them at this time. So,
although it's a good time for us to go out and look at that.
Yeah.
Well, which obviously you've done some of that work already, and then Ted and Melissa have done some of that work also. Yeah. But in terms of approving something tonight, and and I'm with the other trustees. Let's take a deeper dive into what this contract is, so that we are making the best decision for our district.
Oh, let's table this until
January. Till January.
I think it'll give you a better opportunity to look at the work that they did in Twin Cities, where you see what a finished product looks like.
Twin Rivers.
Yeah.
I think I can speak on, I don't mean to speak on behalf of everyone, but I think I can, in saying that we appreciate the presentation, and I think there's some great foresight here, and Richard putting in the perspective just now of it's $50,000 a year, not just this one lump sum, $250,000, which was my impression, and originally for 1 year if you get a plan. And so, I mean, I really appreciate the discussion and the feedback, and I would feel more comfortable if we table a vote until January, when we can see the scope of the contract and what exactly we're.
Do we agree then that we won't take action on item 16.02 at this time?
I agree.
Yeah. As long as there's not a motion, we can move on it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and table that then, Mr. Peterson, till next month.
Yeah, no problem. And guys, don't take offense to that. We just need to do our due diligence. You'll be back.
We totally understand, and we're hoping this is a very, very long-term relationship. So what's a month?
Yeah, I agree.
Love that you're based in Fresno. That makes it, you're Valley guys. That's good for us.
And we're doing work right across the freeway in Hillmar right now. So we're doing a new elementary and a new CTE project at the high school. So I can get there in 40 minutes because I drive fast.
Yeah, but I grew up across the street from Merced High, so
yeah,
I actually almost remember when it was brand new. So not to date myself.
No, you don't.
Yourself. 95.
But just remember, that's by Livingston. The CHP is always on that Sultana Drive.
Thank you.
No.
Good tip, Leo. Good tip.
I've met him.
Good. Well, maybe it wasn't good, but anyways,
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Gary.
Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Alan, I have some questions. We have, not regarding this anymore, but on the action agenda, we added the appointment of John Swigard. A question is, you said that we were told, or you were told that we had to do an appointment. Who told you that, or where did that come from?
Leslie, do you want to chime in here, or do you want me to do my best?
Sure, I'll chime in. I was confirming some information regarding the certificates that you and Mr. Swigard needed to sign after you take the oath of office with the Merced County Elections Department yesterday. And our conversation turned into a conversation about how Mr. Swigard needed to be appointed. And that was an information that we were aware of. And so she provided me with some information that because he ran unopposed and did not show on the election, but was really a nomination when he filed for candidacy himself, that the board needed to appoint him.
So basically, we appointed him the first time. We need to continue with that appointment since he ran unopposed.
Yes, only because he ran unopposed, and his name was not listed on the ballot because there was no reason to have an election. So he basically, filing for candidacy, self-nominated himself, and because no one ran against him, he needed to be appointed by the board.
So is that different than when, like, let's say Richard ran unopposed and we didn't appoint him, he was just...
No, this, I believe, is new information. Shaughnessy Machado from the elections department is the one who shared it with me. And so that's why it was put on as a needed item for tonight, because that needs to happen in December.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about John's area, but I know when I ran for my last term, Julio, my name was on a ballot. So I don't know what John's ballot was like in that area. I don't know. So maybe that's a new change.
When you look at the election results on their website, his area isn't even listed. So I believe that it's a change in the election, how they handle it, and that's a change for us.
Well, there was other districts that had unopposed people and they were on there. So it's just different. But I also was looking at the education code you mentioned, and it said that we had to put it in the newspaper first, and we didn't. And also, what was the other thing I was looking at? Oh yeah, I mean, I've asked. I mean, can we put something in the agenda like that? Because I know I've asked to put something on the agenda within 72 hours, or maybe it was 24. I don't know, but I was told no, that's illegal. We can't do that. It has to be made public before we do it. So. What's the difference in these things?
It has to meet a certain bar, Mr. Valadez. And so we didn't know this information. It has to happen now at this meeting. It can't happen in January. So it makes it basically an emergency to put it on, not just because a board member wants an item on.
And so through the motion, we were able to add it, and we do need to take action on it. So, and we're at that point right now. So we can move on to the added item 16.03, the appointment of Trustee Swigard. Mr. Peterson?
A quick question again. So we don't have to put it in the newspaper then? Is that what we're saying? Because I was looking at the education of, I think, what is 5328? And it says that it has to be posted in the newspaper. So we're not going to do that? Are we skipping all that?
I know that has to happen for a provisional appointment when a trustee resigns, like Mr. Medeiros did. We actually ran it in the paper, but this was because of an election, and he actually filed documents at the elections office to run as trustee for an open seat.
So we're going by the latest information we have from the election office.
Correct.
All right. Well, I'm just reading the education code that we have on this thing, and it says different. So if that's what it is, okay.
All right, Mr. Peterson.
The nomination and declaration of candidacy period, as well as all applicable extended candidate filing periods for the November general election have closed and were closed August 12th of 2020. Only one candidate, John Schweigert, filed for the Merced Union High School District Governing Board Area 4C. Therefore, pursuant Education Code 5326 and 5328, the governing board shall appoint the qualified person nominated, John Schweigert. Such appointee shall be seated at the organizational meeting of the board as if elected at the district election.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Well, I don't have anything against John, but I don't know that we're doing this right, so I just want to point that out.
Mr. Valadez, I can confirm what I was told yesterday with the elections department tomorrow.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just following the guidelines that they told me on the phone.
Got it. And then, I mean, I was looking at these as we were looking at this, also the way that Tiffany and Aaron were elected tonight. It says that we were supposed to do it by voice, not by, not the way we did it. So just an FYI. Might be reading old stuff, but that's what I'm reading.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further discussion, then we can call for the vote, Leslie. Okay, motion passes 3-0, 3 yeses, 1 abstention. Next, we have superintendent's report. Mr. Peterson.
All right. Thank you, President Pickle, and congratulations again. I want to start off by thanking Mr. Coleman and the Merced High School Ag Department on their presentation tonight. You know, this is all very weird to all of us, and it's nice to see that there is some normalcy going on out there, and kids are actually taking videos together and producing something. I want to give Mr. Lopez a sincere thank you for his tenure as board president, and I don't just mean the last 2 years, the last 5. You have helped guide this board and the school district through a very, very difficult time like we really haven't ever seen before. And I just want to say truly thank you, Richard, for all of your help. And congratulations to all of you that have moved positions. I want to thank our members of cabinet for the update on the board goals and the work you've done since the last update, even though the pandemic and subsequent school closures threw a wrench into our plans. You know, as we all saw and heard tonight, you were still able to get a lot done. We were able to get a lot done, and that's a testament to each of your drive and dedication to this district. I know we are all disappointed and frustrated with the current situation. You know, we knew that school closures were a possibility this time of year. We knew things were going to get worse, but we did hold out a little bit of hope that we would make it to the holidays. And the hope now is that, by closing up this week and giving the virus a chance to run its course, hopefully the surge will subside and we can open back up at the start of the semester in mid-January, and continue moving the district forward until we are in the clear. Our work with regard to this pandemic is just beginning. As you heard a little bit tonight, we talked about summer school, we talked about goals. Learning loss and the toll on student mental health, the lack of socialization are only the tip of the iceberg. We have our work cut out for us, folks, and we will focus on this in January and the spring semester to bring the very best outcome to our students we can. Before I close, we close tonight, I want to thank everyone for their tireless efforts, DTA, CSEA, classified, certificated, our administrative team, our district office. I really am in awe of the accomplishments, the resilience, the perseverance that all of us have showed in this district. The shifts have been monumental, and shifts is plural, and we have all stuck with it and worked our rear ends off to do the very best we can. And I think we are a shining beacon in Merced County, in our region, and in our state. So wishing you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Please take advantage of our break and rest up. As Churchill said, it is darkest before the dawn, and January is going to be difficult, folks. It's going to get more difficult. But I truly believe that we are right around the corner from a bright and hopeful spring. Thank you, President Pickle.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. All right, moving on, communications, information, future agenda items. Would you like to start us off?
Sure. We talked about it a little bit, but it was really lovely to get different emails from band directors this week, in particular with holiday cheer and seeing what students are accomplishing despite the pandemic, and in particular in regards to activities that I know bring our students great joy and opportunity for engagement. And likewise, it was neat to see the FFA going on, creating a podcast and thriving during this time. I too really want to thank Richard. Richard, you have been a model president. It's been wonderful to work alongside you, and just thank you for the thankless job that you have, and the extra time commitment that definitely exists with that position. We heard a few public comments tonight about our CTE teachers, and as tremendous a job as the district has done in getting this CTE program really flourishing and thriving, we need to figure out a way to not only get talented and terrific teachers, but retain them as well, have them want to stay within our district. So I'm not sure if that's something that we as a board can agendize or for a future meeting, or if it's just something we really need to push for in negotiating for the future. And I too just want to wish everybody a really happy holiday, and stay safe, enjoy your families, be well, and look forward to regrouping again in January, where I want to be more optimistic than Superintendent Peterson. I'm hoping that we get our students back on campus, and especially our special populations, and then students who if our numbers continue to be low, perhaps we can bring some students back full time if they choose that route. But anyway, happy holidays.
Thank you. Mr. Valdez?
All right, well, hopefully I don't get disconnected again. But anyways, so I do again want to thank staff as well for doing a great job and doing what they can to continue teaching and managing the schools and so on. They're there. I mean, and talking about that, I don't think it's right that we're on Zoom and we're asking them to be in person. I think that if they would like to and can teach or do their job from home, then we should allow them to do that. I mean, I don't think it's right that we're here in our offices at home or personal office or whatever, and they're, they have to be in school when maybe they have things or, compromised people in their families and so on. So, I mean, because we're in the tier that we're in right now in Merced County and the lockdown, we should really look into that. I also want to thank the bands and the band directors and teachers and so on for what they do and sending us the links to their performances, their video performances and so on. Livingston High School Band did a great job at the Livingston Lighted Parade. They looked great. I was there and it was awesome. I think that was one of the best parades Livingston has done in the way they did them. But again, with our performance by our band as well, or the Livingston High School Band. I also agree with Ms. Ham regarding the CTE programs. We do need to put that on the agenda if that's what we need to do, to look into how we can do better at retaining and even the facilities, whatever we need to do to keep those facilities for when the students come back, they have a place that they can go with teachers, instructors that want to be there to do the job. So we really need to do that again. So I'm asking if this is the way to ask that we put that on the agenda, on the next agenda, so that we can really look into it, whether it's putting it through a goal for Alan or whatever we need to do, but we need to look into that. The other thing that I would like to put on the agenda is the meeting formats and how people comment. I think we got that survey last month, and I think we're doing okay, but I really think that, let's just say we're doing better than some, but I think we should be able to have people comment, up to the meeting. If it need to be added, somehow let them speak with the allotted times that we have. So I want to put that on the agenda as well. So made it so far this far in the meeting. So I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Valdez. And I noted your requests. Okay, Mr. Lopez.
Yeah, well, let me start off. First of all, congratulations, Julio, once again. John also. I want to obviously thank you guys for the being part of this governance team. We're going through some serious issues now, but you know what? I think as a whole, we're making the best decisions for our district. I want to thank Alan. You're going to start I believe your 6th year as the leader of Merced Union High School District. Obviously, your evaluation tonight and the narrative from the trustees, truly indicate or tell me that we selected the right person 6 years ago. You've definitely proven me wrong when I sat in on bringing in our next superintendent. So I thank you for all the work that you continue to do for our district, and I know that you always keep the best interest of our kids as your number one priority. So thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge our CTE teachers, Mr. Yergers, Nigliazzo, Mr. Ryan Jimenez, Mr. Mendoza, and Mr. Dhaliwal. Obviously, this board wants to seek a way that we can compensate you for the work that you continue to do for our students. You know, CTE has been a top priority for our district, and you know, it's only fair that we start to have that dialogue with Mr. Peterson and the various and the DTA union to see how we can make that work. And so we are not going to put that on Mr. Peterson's plate to try to make it work, so we continue to expand our CTE programs with our qualified instructors that we have there now. I do want to congratulate also our AXA recipients for this year. Mrs. Nicole Rose was awarded the secondary co-administrator under AXA. Mr. Swartwood was selected as a secondary principal. And then obviously Mr. Peterson was selected as the superintendent of the year for our AXA region. So congratulations to our 3 MUHSD personnel. I do want to follow up on a few things from the last meeting to Dr. Aguilar and Mr. Weimer. If I or we can get an update on the outcomes and the goals that were not completed from the prior LCAP moving forward, and then the monies that were not expended, and then if we can get an update on the proposed expenditure plan for the $10 million of the CARES funding that our district has to, you know, show that we've encumbered or are going to expend by December 31st. I know that you guys talked about, you know, things here and there, but as I just want to see how what that breakdown looks like as to how we're going to use those funds. I'd like to see if we as a board can start to look at some sort of PD or a board study that we can start to look in here soon. Now that we're going to have our full team on board for these next at least 2 years through my term and then forward. So if we can start to look at topics either through CSBA that can obviously bring us back together so we can continue to focus the work on the best outcomes for our district. I want to also, Tiffany, to see if we can, at some point in time, review our protocols, please, and see if those need to be updated as a group, okay? And last but not least, I want to thank, obviously, it's already been mentioned by everyone, all the work that our teachers and our classified staff, our cabinet members, Mr. Peterson, from August forward, you know, difficult times, but you're making it work. You've made it work. Yes, Mr. Peterson, I agree with you. Tough decisions are being made day by day. And, you know, some of us agree to them, some of us don't. Yes, we all want kids back in class, but the circumstances that we're dealing with as far as our staffing goes, you know, that's beyond our control. And unfortunately, it leads us to, you know, to shut down sooner than anticipated. With that being said, I do want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, all of the MUHSD family community, and a Happy New Year, and stay as safe as possible so we can try to open our doors sooner than later. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Lopez. First of all, thank you, Richard, for recognizing the AXA winners that we have in the district, and congratulations again to all of you. Also, congratulations to Julio and John for your election / appointment. I agree with the comments on further exploring the CTE, the attaining and attracting and retaining the CTE staff. I do think it might be a good item for our goal discussion. We can agendize it and talk about it, but that's probably where it's going to end up anyway. If it has that level of importance to us, and it seems like it does. So that would be one of my suggestions. Thank you also to those of you that have sent the links to those. Yeah, I'm sorry, Richard.
I just want to point out that Leslie or Alan, I hope that Mr. Valadez did not get kicked out of this meeting. I see that he's no longer showing up on our screen. Any communication back to you on that, Leslie?
No, I haven't gotten any.
No, I was taking notes and didn't even notice, so I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, for pointing that out. Thank you for those of you that have sent the links to those videos. You know, we love seeing that. We've talked about resilience, you know, over the last few months. You epitomize resilience. You guys have found a way to do what you need to do. You've done it well, and never doubt your capabilities. You're absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. It really, it's really a bright spot in our days, and I think I could probably speak for all of us when I say that. I know Leslie's going to follow up with the elections office, so we'll get an update on that. The board study, I agree with you, Richard, 100%. That's something that I think we should continue with and schedule soon. Board study, protocols, our roles, and really work on our development as a governing unit. I think we could all benefit from that. And I just want to thank everyone for a great meeting. Be safe and enjoy the holidays. And I look forward to seeing you next month. So with that, Mrs. Warback, I think we'll adjourn at 9:01.
Thank you all.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone. Take care.